National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Presentation.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Today is a great day, and we have plenty of great technology to tell you about. Welcome to our extended seminar on the smart home. I'm Jonathan Mosen. I'm Executive Director for Accessibility Excellence here at the National Federation of the Blind, and I do want to reiterate what we heard there in Anil's video and acknowledge the support of the state of Maryland through the Maryland Department of Disabilities for our non-visual accessibility grant, which has made this event and many other things possible. Before we get into a definition of the smart home, I want to introduce at least one of the people who will be here today to help us go through this exciting world of smart home technology, and that is our very own newly promoted assistant to the Executive Director, Kennedy Zimnick. Kennedy, we'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. My name's Kennedy. Just a couple housekeeping things before we get started. I am going to be launching a pre-seminar poll right after I'm done talking. If you could take a few seconds and answer those few poll questions, we'd really appreciate it. This is being recorded. Hello to everybody watching the recording from the future. No need to, thank you for the wave. No need to email me asking if this recording will be released. If you registered, you will get the recording link. And also we have a captioner. So if you go to the bottom row of buttons in Zoom and do show captions, you'll be able to see the live captions of what's being said today. Jonathan?
I gave a little wave to the people on the recording for those who couldn't see that. Thank you, Kennedy, and we'll be hearing more from Kennedy later. We will also hear some other voices in the webinar a little bit later as well, including Stephen Polacek from the Maryland Department of Disabilities, who will be talking about some of this technology, and we expect to hear Anil Lewis himself as part of this a little bit later. But I'm going to start us off now and talk about the smart home in general. What are we going to be covering today? What do we mean when we talk about the smart home? Before I do that, a little advisory note that we are going to be using frequently the wake words for common voice assistants today. There's really no way around that. So as some of those naughty talking books used to say, and perhaps they still do, because I don't read the naughty talking books, it might be a good idea to listen to this with headphones so that you don't trigger or the personal assistants that might be around you. If you can't do that, you may wish to mute some of your voice assistants so they don't keep responding to wake words. So first, let's set the scene. What do we mean when we talk about the smart home? For those who have embraced this world of smart homes, our homes have undergone a dramatic transformation. We can now accomplish things that would have been thought of as science fiction just a couple of decades ago. So let me paint a pretty common scenario that happens for those of us who are in this world. You walk into your home after a long day, and you're carrying your smartphone with you, and your smartphone has been instructed to take a series of actions when it detects that you've arrived home in the evening. Without you having to do anything other than walk through the door, your house responds. The lights come on to the perfect brightness, your favorite playlist from Apple or Spotify Music or whatever it is that you use plays softly in the background, the thermostat adjusts to your ideal temperature, and maybe even the coffee maker starts brewing your evening cup. Hopefully that evening cup is decaf. Or you're going to have trouble sleeping, and then you'll be able to measure that with some sort of smart gadget as well. So there's no fumbling for light switches, there's no walking to different rooms to adjust thermostats, there's no searching for remote controls. For blind people, smart home technology isn't just convenient and cool, there are real accessibility benefits, allowing us to take control of tasks and devices that would otherwise be inaccessible. So what is it that makes a home smart? Well, at its heart, a smart home is simply a home where you can control your environment through technology. And that control might happen through an app, or the technology may talk and listen to you, but that on its own is pretty compelling. But you might also use a popular voice assistant as well. So some technology has built-in voice functions. It's more common to have a smart assistant that helps you. Think about it this way. Every traditional home control requires you to go somewhere, find something, and manipulate something physical. If you want to dim the living room lights, you got to walk to the wall, locate the dimmer switch, and then adjust it. And if you want to make the temperature a little hotter or colder, you find the thermostat, you navigate its buttons, or increasingly, sadly, a touch screen. And if it is a touch screen, good luck with that. You may be able to get there with the help of a visual interpreter service, but it is laborious. If you want to play music in multiple rooms, well, that might involve several devices and remotes, and playing the same thing in sync across multiple rooms used to be a big challenge. But it goes even deeper than that, because it's not just about control, it's also about confirmation. Smart homes can provide feedback in the ways that work for us. When you adjust that smart thermostat through an app, it can announce the temperature change to you. I don't have any light perception at all. So coming back to that dimming the lights example, when I dim the lights using a traditional dimmer switch, I've got no verification of the effects that that dimming has had. In other words, just how much less bright are the lights now that I've turned that knob. In the past, I might have carried a light probe with me to get some sort of information about that. When you're setting up lighting scenes, your phone can describe what you're creating. When someone rings your doorbell, it can announce who's there through your speakers throughout the house, and it can let you know if it detects a package left at the front door. This technology also creates independence in ways that might not be immediately obvious. So imagine being able to check if you left any lights on before leaving the house just by asking. Or when you are nearly home and you're trying to help the rideshare driver find your house, turning on your front porch light while you're in the vehicle, make sure that the entrance is well lit. And if you're coming home late at night, yours may be the only house that has the front porch light on, so that can really help. These small conveniences add up to big improvements in daily living. And here is the really beautiful thing about this whole smart home business. You don't need to transform your whole home overnight. You can start small and build up your home's intelligence one device at a time, learning as you go and adding features that make the most difference in your daily life. You'll find that you will grow in confidence and ambition as you embark on this journey. Like any technology, smart home technology is improving all the time with new devices and capabilities coming up regularly, and it's also becoming easier to get into, easier to set up. Voice assistants are becoming better at understanding natural speech and context, so that helps as well. Smart devices are becoming more affordable, they're becoming easier to use. The ecosystem is expanding as well to include everything from smart ovens that can announce when your food is ready and do a great job of monitoring how well cooked the food is. I had an incredible experience with this over the weekend, to smart medication dispensers that can remind you when it's time to take your pills. So that's the overview, and during the rest of this webinar, we're going to explore many of the exciting attractions that you will find on this journey. And we're going to begin with, I think, a very good place to start, because it can form the basis of your smart home, and that's all about smart speakers and voice control. Excuse me. Voice control is a convenient way to interact with your smart home, and some devices that offer voice control can also act as a home hub, which can be useful for when you want to take actions pertaining to your smart home when you're not at home. So here's Kennedy to start this part of the seminar.
Great, thanks, Jonathan. So I just wanted to go over a few commonly used vocabulary words in smart home technology. Very common words that you'll hear come up that you might not know, and they might not mean what they usually mean. So just wanted to get the context across. So something really important that allows different companies' technologies to speak to one another, like a Google and an Apple device working in pair, is the Matter standard, Matter. So the Matter standard is a universal smart home protocol developed by major companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, or Samsung to make devices work together more reliably. Instead of each brand having their own language, quote unquote, Matter creates one common way for lights, locks, sensors, and other devices to connect securely over Wi Fi, Ethernet, or Thread. Thread is another vocabulary word I'll get to in a second. For now, you just have to know it's a low power mesh network. The goal is that if a device has the Matter logo, or if you go on the website and the website says this is part of the Matter standard, or this device works with a lot of different hubs or devices, you can set it up with whichever ecosystem you prefer. Apple Home, Google Home, Alexa, or SmartThings, for example, without worrying about compatibility. It reduces the need for multiple apps and bridges and makes smart home technology simpler and more accessible for everyone. So, quickly, a thread is a wireless network technology designed specifically for smart home devices. Unlike Wi Fi, which can get crowded, or Bluetooth, which has limited range, Thread creates a low power mesh network where each device, like a bulb or sensor, can relay messages to the next. So this gets rid of the need for Wi-Fi or Bluetooth with this new network called Thread. It's very low power, and like I said, it doesn't require Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. So Thread and the Matter standard, we might throw that around. That's what this means. And if you need any more explanation, please let me know. Something else that Jonathan just mentioned, a scene. So in smart home technology, a scene is a saved collection of settings for multiple devices that you can activate all at once with a singular voice command, button press, or automation. Instead of telling each light, plug, or thermostat what to do individually, a scene bundles those instructions together. So, for example, a sleep scene or a good night scene might turn off all the living room lights, dim the bedroom lamp to a 20% warm white color, lock the front door, and set the thermostat to a certain temperature. So it's called running a scene by saying, for example, "Hey Siri, good night," or "Hey Siri, sleep," something like that. And all of these actions happen in sync. And one last vocabulary topic or word. In smart home tech, a bridge is a small device that acts as a middleman between your smart accessories and your home network. Okay, those were just some vocabulary words I wanted to get out of the way before we get started. So, the first piece of tech I'm talking about is Google Assistant or Gemini. Um, so, Google Assistant is Google's voice assistant that's built into most Android devices, including cell phones. Nowadays, it's being phased out from Google Assistant and just to Gemini, Google's AI. So, if it's not on your device, you can usually download it from the Play Store. But most of the time, Google or Android devices come with Google Assistant or Gemini built in already. So, for this segment, I'm going to be talking about Google Assistant. It is being turned to Gemini on newer devices. You can think of it as a voice helper that can control your home and run routines to reduce time spent on separate apps. So, for example, some phrases that work with that would that you might hear in a smart home setting with Google Assistant. Short and specific is best. For example, kitchen lights 30%, turn on hallway. What I just used, good night. Could be the word that sets a scene. And this allows you to talk to Google Assistant and have these phrases do something, you know, pretty simply. Something that I found in my research that I thought was interesting is called voice match. So something you can do with Google Assistant is voice match. So voice match lets the speaker know it's you, or whatever device know it's you. That means your, for example, calendars and reminders are private, but anybody can still say turn on the lamp. So this allows you to specifically set certain processes that only happen when your voice talks to whatever device. So it's kind of like a security feature that not everybody can get into your calendar or read your messages, for example, but everybody can say something, basic like turn on the lamp. So kind of one scene that I have laid out here, or routine is imagine like a movie time routine. So the starter or how the scene starts, you could set it to a certain time of day, or you can have a voice phrase like movie time. So it could be 7:30 p.m. This automatically starts, or you have a short phrase that you say like movie time. And what happens then, you can set it so the living room lamp goes to 20%. The floor light, if you have floor lights, turn on. You can turn on do not disturb or silence, whatever notifications. Start a playlist, for example, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty much whatever you can think of, you can set through, one of these apps. Google Home, which I'll get to in a second, is actually how you interface with all this technology. Okay. So some for Google Assistant specifically, um uh like I've been talking about scenes, you might prefer scenes to individual light bulbs, for example. So instead of having to go through and flip on and off each light bulb, you can set a scene to dim or change the color of whatever bulbs you have. So you can have kitchen mode where, or cooking mode that turned everything up brightness and changes the color, or wind down mode. So I know I'm talking a lot about scenes and kind of reiterating the point, but this is where a lot of the smart home technology comes to life and is actually really cool, with how much it automates, and it's really kind of futuristic. And for accessibility, it lets you interact with your voice. And like Jonathan was saying, you don't have to go find a light switch, or you don't have to maybe use a not so accessible app to control something. You can have it connected through the Matter standard, if it is one of these devices that meets the standard, through a hub that you control easily, that is accessible, like Google Home or Apple Home. Okay. I'm going to be moving on now. Actually, sorry, before I move on, some common technologies that use Google Assistant or Gemini. I really should start saying Gemini because that's what it's being phased into, is just Gemini. So that's what I'll start saying. So some common devices that use Gemini, the Nest Mini. This is a small speaker for voice commands. It's about $50. The Nest Hub has a 7-inch screen, and can be a Thread border router for some Matter devices. So, Thread again is that low power network, and then Matter is the standard. So this is saying that this Nest Hub can work with any device that meets the Matter standard, even if it's not a Google device, especially if it's not a Google device. Nest Audio. This is a larger speaker. If you're into listening to music a lot, you might get into this. It's about $100. And then the Google Home app. So this is the app that you actually create all these scenes with. So it's a completely free app that you can actually get on iOS or Android. So you can put it on your iPhone. And this is where you build automations or scenes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on now. Okay, so Siri on your iPhone or the HomePod. So we're talking about Apple's products now. A lot of what I said applies to Siri or Apple products, but there are some little differences. You know how you talk to Siri, what exactly Siri can do, and some of the technologies that you can buy with Siri enabled. But like I said, most of the processes will be very similar, if not the same. So, Siri, like I just said, Siri works best when you live in Apple's ecosystem. Like if you own an iPhone, an Apple Watch, or a HomePod, and you use the Apple Home app. This is an app that comes pre-installed on all iPhones. So if you have an iPhone, you should have the Home app already. And I should have mentioned, of course, the Google Home app and Apple Home app are very accessible. And the Matter standard is cool. I'll talk more about this later, but this allows you to know that if you do connect, one of your devices to Google Home or Apple Home, you are already in a better accessibility spot than if you had to rely on that third party vendor's application. So you already know that if it does connect through this Matter standard, that you'll be able to use it on one of these apps, which is accessible. So I just wanted to mention that both these home apps are very accessible. Okay. Yeah. So like I was saying, Siri works best if you already have and live in the Apple ecosystem. And the HomePod would be acting as a home hub. So I'll describe what it does and give you lines that you can use at home. So uh, some phrases very similar to what I just went over for Google. The command is "Hey Siri," and then whatever you want to happen. So, "Hey Siri, set living room 25%." "Hey Siri, good night," and that could be a scene that turns off most lights, leaves a night light, locks one of your smart locks, whatever. "Hey Siri, what's the temperature in here?" If there is a room temperature sensor available, or if you have it, if you have a thermostat connected, you can also ask the temperature then. You can also, like Jonathan was mentioning, if you have lights connected, you can ask, "Are the lights on? Are the lights off?" Oh, see, that's when my phone goes off and it's embarrassing. So I need to put that away. So sorry, like Jonathan said, sorry for we're making your devices go haywire, but not much you can do in this kind of presentation. Okay, so HomePod can recognize different voices. Apple HomePod can recognize different voices. What I was kind of describing before. So you can have personal requests. So that's what they're called. You can enable personal requests. Only your voice can send messages or read yours back. Everybody can still control shared devices. So this is just a privacy or security feature that allows you to only do certain things. You set it to your voice, and it only happens if your voice is saying that thing. Okay. Oh, you can also set up sound recognition. So you can set it so if something hears a smoke alarm or carbon monoxide alarm go off, it can notify you to that. And it can also notify you to security system, which I'll talk a little bit about later. Anything that is on this Matter standard and is, if you have it connected through this Apple Home app, you can set it to notify you when it does things. So just another really important piece, especially for security or privacy. You want to know as soon as it happens, and you can set it up with your phone to actually, have it read back to you when it does happen. So, some technologies and prices. The HomePod Mini, it's a compact series speaker and home hub, with Thread. So that means it can be a part of that low power network. Is about $99. The HomePod second generation has a bigger sound, and is also a home hub. So it does whatever the HomePod Mini does, but it's just a bigger speaker in general. That's around $300. And you also have the Home app, which is completely free, and it's where you build scenes and automations and do everything that I'm describing. This is also where you add different devices. So you add different devices through either a QR code, or because that's not very accessible, you can find its code either on the box, which you'll still need, OCR or sighted help for that. But once you do have the code, you can just paste that code into your Apple Home app and then have it connected, and then everything's great. All right. Was there anything else I wanted to cover? I don't think so. So unless there are, well, if you have any questions, please put them in chat. Or you can raise your hand and we'll get to them when we do have some time for questions here in a little bit. Jonathan, are you ready to talk about our friend from Amazon? I don't want to say her name too loudly.
I'll go on. Yeah,
Alexa.
thanks, Kennedy. Yes, I am. And I know there will be a lot of people with experience of smart homes today who have wisdom to share. So when we do get to the audience contributing bit, we know that we're going to get more than questions, we'll get experiences as well. And just one addition to make, in recent versions of iOS, you can set up your iPhone so that it just responds to Siri, so you don't need to say, "Hey Siri," if you don't want to. But sometimes people find that the shorter the phrase, the more it is prone to false activation. So some people still keep it on "Hey Siri" for that reason as well. Okay,
Also,
so
I wanted to mention, Jonathan, sorry, type to Siri. So instead of using your voice to communicate with Siri, you can also set up in accessibility settings, type to Siri, where you can type on your keyboard and communicate with Siri. So I just wanted to mention that.
And that's fantastic. There are a couple of things there that really do help deaf-blind people. The smoke detector alarm type thing, and in iOS 26, it can now listen for name recognition as well. So all those things help those who can't hear the device as well. So that's great. Let us talk about Amazon Alexa. Now, Amazon currently offers 12 Echo devices in their family, ranging from the $39.99 device, $39.99 device, to $399. The Echo Pop is your most affordable entrant into the Alexa ecosystem, and that's the one that costs $39.99, and it offers basic Alexa functionality. It's quite compact. It's a little semicircular thing. The sound quality reflects that price, though. The speaker fires in one direction rather than in 360 degrees, so that can be quite limiting for a room if you want to try to cover the whole room. For $10 more, though, you can get the Echo Dot. That's the 5th generation of the Dot now, and it includes a temperature sensor and a motion detector as well. So the Pop doesn't have that, but the Echo Dot does, so you can get the inside temperature really easily, and the sound quality is quite a bit better with the Dot. You've got that 360 degree audio. There's also a clock version of the Dot that costs a bit more. It's $69.99, and it's got an LED display, and that might be worth considering if you have sighted people in your family who'd like to see the time and the weather at a glance. Some smaller devices work well for these basic commands and smart home control, like the Dot and the Pop, but don't expect impressive audio quality out of those for music listening. Now, the standard Echo is still at the fourth generation, and it costs $99.99. It offers significantly better sound than the Dot models. That device, the fourth generation Echo, has been around since 2020 now, and I do note that Amazon has announced a hardware event for September the 30th. So it's possible that they will announce a new Echo then, and possibly others in the family as well. So if you're interested in getting into the space or updating what you have, check the Tech Press. We will certainly talk about this on Access On, which is the National Federation of the Blind's technology podcast. The event is held on September the 30th. Amazon tends not to stream these events live, but various tech publications will report on them. Particularly relevant to our discussion today, which is focused on the smart home, is that the Echo, the $99 one, does include a built-in smart home hub that supports Zigbee devices, and the smaller models don't do that. So that hub functionality may be attractive. The built-in hub is convenient for sure, but it also means that if your Echo fails, you lose both your ability to control your environment with your voice and the whole smart home hub as well. And that's why some people prefer a separate hub device, so that if one thing breaks, it doesn't take the whole thing down. The Echo Studio comes in at $199.99, and it is Amazon's high-end audio device. It includes Dolby Atmos support, which means that you get surround sound. It's got spatial audio processing, and it has 5 speakers in that device. The sound quality is genuinely impressive. It's probably right up there with some of the Sonos devices. It does a very nice job. It is quite large and heavy. Some users have reported occasional connectivity issues that seem more common with the Studio than the simpler models. So you'll want to make a call about whether you perceive getting involved in the Amazon ecosystem is the way that you want to handle seriously high-end audio. And we're going to talk about serious high-end audio a little bit later. The advanced audio features work best with Amazon Music's high-quality streams, and that will require a subscription. So you kind of got to be steeped in the Amazon world to really make the most of this. So let's turn now to Amazon Echo devices that have a smart display, and we can start there. Out of the 3 devices, the cheapest is the Echo Show 5. That is $89.99, and as the name implies, it has a 5.5-inch display. The Echo Show 8 at $149.99 has an 8-inch screen, and the Echo Show 21 at $399 features a whopping 21.5-inch display. For blind users, these devices offer some unique features, but also raise questions about value. The Show and Tell feature can identify packaged foods and household items when you hold them up to the camera, and that is genuinely useful for distinguishing similar products. You got people coming over, you want to know which is the baked beans and which is the dog food in those cans. Well, they're going to thank you for that. The VoiceView screen reader provides audio feedback for visual elements when you need that. Now, the downside, of course, is that you are paying for screen technology you might not use very often. The Show and Tell feature works well when the packages are clearly labeled, but it has been known to struggle with items that have been damaged or the text is obscured in some way. In VoiceView, the screen reader adds another layer of complexity for functions that work perfectly well with voice alone. You can also find Alexa on devices other than the Amazon Echo. Many manufacturers now build Alexa into their products. Sonos, Bose, and other audio companies, which I'll talk more about later, offer speakers with Alexa built right into them, and they often have superior sound quality to the Amazon devices, with the possible exception of the Studio, which is right up there. If you go with a third party, you get better sound quality, you get premium build materials, and sometimes additional features specific to that manufacturer's ecosystem. But you lose things as well. Amazon's accessibility features like VoiceView and Show and Tell are exclusive to Echo devices, And you also can't group third-party devices with echo devices for multi-room audio. They operate as separate systems. Some third-party implementations have slower response times, or they don't support all the Alexa features, so be mindful of that. When you're shopping, it helps to understand terminology that's commonly used in the Alexa ecosystem. If something is certified as having Alexa built in, it has full voice control. While if you read somewhere in a description of a product that something works with Alexa, it might just mean that you can control the device through Alexa, not that it has Alexa inside it. Alexa handles basic information requests reliably, and we'll give you a bit of a demo here since I have one. I'm just going to reach over and find it on my cluttered desk and unmute it. There you go. We've been making sure it doesn't listen to me. So we can say things like, Alexa, what's the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 19 degrees Celsius. Tonight, expect a low of 17 degrees.
So this is all part of my evolution. I'm doing this from my home office where I have my mixer, and every other device using this ecosystem in our apartment now talks Fahrenheit. This is my one little kind of bastion of familiarity. I keep the one in my office, which is typically only I use this on Celsius, so that I can kind of have a reference point when I'm trying to learn how to speak in Fahrenheit. So we have normal things like that, weather, time, simple calculations, unit conversions. There is a flash briefing feature, which I really like, and that can provide news updates from a range of sources that you choose. You've got to set that up initially, and you do that through the app. It works well with Amazon Music, as you would expect, but it also has support for Spotify and Apple Music and other major services. You can do that for music and also for podcasts. You can create speaker groups for multi-room audio, though this requires using the smartphone app initially. It sometimes misinterprets similar sounding commands, so just be mindful of that. Set a timer for 15 minutes sometimes gets misheard as set a timer for 50 minutes. So just make sure that you monitor how it's responding so that you get the timer you think you set. The wake word detection isn't perfect like all of these sorts of devices. It will occasionally activate from TV, audio, or conversation. And you might remember that it was a very controversial ad. I think I remember who it was for, but I won't name the company in case I've got it wrong. But there was an ad that came on the TV 2 or 3 years ago that actually deliberately did this. The ad at the end said, "Hey Google, open," whatever it was, and everybody who had a Google Assistant device close by was forcibly taken to that vendor's website. Quite genius, but it actually annoyed people because and therefore it backfired. Many people use Alexa for their basic purposes, but it's capable of so much more. It can discover and control thousands of smart home devices. And as standards converge, this is likely to be less of a benefit. But in the past, I found that many things work with Alexa when they may not always work, say, with Apple Home. Most modern smart bulbs, outlets, and switches work well with voice commands once they are properly set up. And even something simple like a smart plug can be so revolutionary. We had a slow cooker in New Zealand. It wasn't anything particularly fancy like the Instant Pot that we've got now. It was just a slow cooker, and we had it connected to a smart switch connected to the wall. And we could say, turn on the crock pot. That's what we named that device. And we would turn it on at about 11:30 and have a lovely meal, and the smells wafting through the house by the time we came home from work. What's nice is that natural language works surprisingly well. So turn off the living room lights is easier to remember than specific device names. Routines are amazing. They allow you to automate multiple actions with single commands. For example, in New Zealand, Bonnie and I had a large house, and we had 2 heat pumps upstairs and one heat pump downstairs. The heat pumps were Alexa compatible, but they weren't Apple Home compatible. So the only thing we could do from our iPhones was control them with an iPhone app, but that didn't give us control via Siri. But using Alexa routines, I enabled commands like heat the upstairs, heat the house, stop heating the upstairs, and stop heating the whole house. We could also tell it to change modes, for example, set studio heat pump to cool, and we could make those routines active at a specific time of day. Bonnie and I are early risers, so I set the heat the upstairs routine to activate automatically every weekday at 4:15 a.m. So the house was warm by the time our alarm went off at 5 a.m. Now, initially, setting these things up almost always requires the smartphone app. Device names need to be distinctive. Having two lamps called lamp in the same room creates all sorts of confusion. And when devices go offline, of course, you do lose connectivity. Voice control fails without obvious error messages. That will happen from time to time. And you've got to try and track that down. You sometimes don't know, is the Alexa ecosystem having a moment? And sometimes that happens when everybody's Alexas around the world or in a certain part of the world go down at once. And sometimes you need to go on the web and do some searching and find out whether it's some sort of outage like that or whether you have a problem that's local. So that can be frustrating. The skills store for Alexa contains over 140,000 skills, and the quality varies quite a lot. Some skills designed for blind users that are really great to check out. Of course, I will put the NFB Newsline right up front. This gives you free access to newspapers and magazines if you're registered for Newsline, and it's great because you can set this up in the morning when you're having your morning coffee and go through your newspaper that way while you're getting on with other things. We also have the nation's blind skill, and if you activate that, you can listen to the National Federation of the Blind radio network whenever you want. And we've also, of course, heard of the Bookshare reader skill. You do have to link your Bookshare account with that, and that is something I'll come back to because that does happen from time to time. That is required. If you have a device with a display, there's also the Be My Eyes Alexa skill. Many skills are, as I say, poorly designed or they've been abandoned by their developers. Voice-based navigation can be clunky sometimes compared to dedicated apps. So it's about choosing the right tool for the particular task in hand, right? Some skills, as I say, do require linking accounts through the smartphone app. That can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, but it's usually a one-off process. Occasionally, you will find a skill that misbehaves and forgets its linking from time to time. That can be annoying as well. Major brands like Philips Hue and Ring and Samsung SmartThings work well. Lesser-known brands may have unreliable skills or the skills have limited functionality. The Alexa app works well with VoiceOver, though it's a bit hit and miss because sometimes you get an update and something's happened to the app. That can be quite inconvenient. We report those issues. I know that NFB members do as well, and usually they get fixed in time. So sometimes it breaks. Some screens are more optimized than others, I find. Initial device setup, when you buy one of these devices, will require the Amazon Alexa app, but daily use, once you've got all this going, is voice-based. You can download the Alexa app for Google Play and for iOS, create an Amazon account if you don't have one already, and just follow the setup wizard. You will need your Wi-Fi password handy to set one of these up, and the app will guide you through connecting each device. The app is also necessary for organizing your device into rooms, creating routines, and managing skills. You can configure most settings through voice commands after you've set it up. Now, looking to the future, which is here for an increasing number of people, Amazon announced Alexa Plus in early 2025. I wonder if we can ask it, Alexa, what can you tell me about Alexa Plus?
Hi, I'm thrilled you asked. The new me is a better listener, easier to talk to, and available anywhere, including the Alexa app and soon on most browsers. I'll also be able to get much more done for you. To experience it for yourself, just say, "Notify me when Alexa Plus is available."
Oh, mate, Alexa, notify me when Alexa Plus is available.
Amazon Alexa was released on November 6, 2014.
Okay, well, there you go. So sometimes that happens. Anyway, they tell us that it is a significant upgrade that aims to make Alexa more conversational and contextually aware. It is designed to maintain context throughout the conversations. So I'll give you an example of where that's handy. Alexa, what's the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 18 degrees Celsius. Tonight, expect a low of 17 degrees.
Alexa, what's that in Fahrenheit?
From Wikipedia.org. Fahrenheit, known as Indigo Prophecy in North America,
Alexa, stop.
is an action.
So what it did there was it was not tracking my context. Clearly, we were talking about the weather because that's what we do most of the time, talk about the weather. And when I got the temperature back in Celsius, I wanted it in Fahrenheit. It didn't keep track of the conversation. Alexa Plus will do that. It understands natural speech patterns better, and it handles more complex multi-step requests. So you might be able to tell it to turn off the lights in the living room and turn on the lights in the master bedroom in one go. This is AI, of course, like everything these days. It is powered by Amazon's Nova AI models, and it includes technology from Anthropic's Claude, which is a very credible AI partner to go with. It is available in limited beta. There are over 1 million users. I know that sounds like a lot, but really in the context of how many devices are out there, it's not. That figure is current as of this month. And it does right now require you to have an Echo Show device, so a device with a screen. And it does work on other Alexa devices once you've activated it on an Echo Show, so that's interesting. It costs $19.99 per month. So there is a subscription for this. But the good news is that if you've got Amazon Prime already, it is free. It's included with it. I've read a few reviews of Alexa Plus, and it seems very much like a work in progress. We don't yet know about its long-term reliability, how well it handles privacy concerns with more conversational AI, and when it'll be widely available. The early reports are mixed. Some reviews I've read say that there is still need for significant improvements, and others really like it. You know, others think it's great as it is. All Echo devices listen for the wake word constantly, though Amazon states that they only transmit audio after hearing the wake word, and you can change the device's wake word if you want to. Your options are Amazon, Echo, Computer, or Ziggy, and you can actually do that by voice command if you want, or from the app. You can review and delete voice recordings through the app or by voice command. There is a physical mute button on all Echo devices, though that eliminates all functionality. And Echo devices generally work well day to day, but they depend entirely on internet connectivity. So with Siri, for example, there's a lot that's now stored on device. And if your internet goes down, some of Siri will still do its thing. But when your internet is down, you can pretty much count out Alexa at that point. So that is a brief overview of Amazon Alexa. I haven't covered some of the things, including the original purpose of creating this, which was actually shopping, because that doesn't really fit into the smart home discussion we're having today. But you can shop with Alexa. You can say, for example, order my melatonin. It will remember the last melatonin you ordered and ask you to confirm, and that's a pretty slick way to do shopping. And particularly since living in the United States, I've found I've used that a lot more. And just before I hand it back, there are some Easter eggs in Amazon Alexa. That generally means just little fun things that developers put in there and leave you to discover. So as we finish this section, I'm going to leave you with one and say, Alexa, sing the technology song.
Technology, technology. Where would I be without technology? Without the Wi-Fi, I couldn't say hi. As for music, I couldn't choose it. Shopping lists would cease to exist, and time would be on your wrist. I thank my lucky stars that I'm here today. I hope that you'll agree. Give me 1, 2, 3 shouts aloud for technology. Ooh, technology.
That was beautiful, moving, and extremely appropriate given the subject matter. So that's Amazon Alexa, and on that auspicious note, I'm going to hand it back to Kennedy.
Great. All right. We actually have some time for discussion and questions. I see that we have a phone number with their hand raised, 330-842-1596. If you want to go ahead and unmute, I'm also happy to change your name in Zoom, unless you want to stay anonymous, which that's fine too. You can go ahead and unmute 1596. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions or discussion topics, things that have worked well for you in your smart home, please raise your hand or put them in chat.
And if you are on the phone, *6 will unmute you. You have to do it relatively quickly, the star key and then the number 6.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Michael. All right, good. My question is about the Echo Pop that you mentioned. I'm curious on which Amazon device has an auxiliary jack. So if you want to hook it up to a stereo system, or say, for example, to a mixer, or like what you did, which Amazon device would have an auxiliary jack? Since the 5th generation Dot doesn't have that.
You're wanting input or output?
That way you can. That we could do output, for example. Say it's you can hook up like a headset, or you can hook it through a mixer. Or something like that.
Output, right. Yeah, I got burned by this because I bought an Amazon Echo 5th generation, an Echo Dot 5th generation, and I found that they had taken the headphone jack away, the output jack away. There is one whose name's just eluding me right now that doesn't even have a speaker, and I don't know if Amazon sells that anymore, but that's what I have in the studio. It just connects to a mixer or a speaker. It has no speaker of its own, and for these purposes, it's really good. The Amazon Echo definitely has a headphone jack, the $99 one. You might need to go to an Echo Dot 4th generation. I don't think the Echo Pop has a 3.5 millimeter jack, but if I'm wrong about that, I'm sure someone will correct me.
Yeah, is it the input that you have, Jonathan? The Echo input?
Yes, that's the one.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
iPad, I see your hand is raised. If you want to go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Jonathan. I'm Videsh from India. So, you were mentioned about this bell which we can control through our smartphones. So, which is the ultimate solution for a person with 100% blindness can use for doorbells?
Sorry, I missed the question there. There's a bit of echo going on.
I'm sorry, maybe because of my internet connection. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a lot of echo. If you get closer to your mic somehow, that might help.
Are you audible now?
That's a little bit better.
Yeah, a little better.
Okay. Actually, Jonathan were describing about accessible doorbell. So, which is the best solution now a totally blind can really handle?
I think we're going to be talking about that
we're
later,
actually
right?
going to get. Yeah, we're going to get into security systems and doorbell systems a little bit later. Quickly though, Ring has a doorbell, and there are other AI enabled doorbells which we'll get into in a bit.
Yep, Google.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. Will I be in a position to get the recording of this seminar also, which I can forward to other blind people in future?
Yes, we're recording right now, and if you registered, then you'll receive a link after this when it's ready to get that Zoom recording.
Okay, because it is an amazing seminar. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
the organizers for your
Thank
hard
you.
work and dedication. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Any other comments? Okay. Hearing. Oh, here we go. Bob, you can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, just to say that some of the third-party smart lights and other things, there's a company called Singlid, and over the last several months, they just stopped working, and Amazon no longer supports it. So there's a whole lot of people, including me, with some of these smart bulbs that I can no longer control with Alexa. So just a word of warning there.
That must be frustrating. Do you know what the cause of that was?
It wasn't clear. I think the problem was on the Singlet side. They had connectivity problems. You know, the bulbs have to talk to the mothership, and then there were issues. Anyway, the Amazon people worked on it for a good long while and just threw up their hands and just sent an email saying, "Sorry, you're out of luck." So.
Wow. Okay. And does it work with any smartphone device like Apple Home or anything like that?
I don't know. I was told that you could use smart things, and I tried that as a controlling device, but I could never get the. I assume you're going to talk about how you connect all these third-party apps and hook them into your Alexa. That it's not always super straightforward. Um, but basically, what happened ultimately is the Singlid routine or skill. Sorry, the Singlid skill was just removed from the Apple or the Alexa
Gosh.
store.
Gosh. Yeah.
I only had a
Yeah.
handful. Other people had 20 or 30 or 40 of these things. So
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. We went with Philips Hue, as you can appreciate. We were pretty early adopters of some of this home automation technology. And it was, since we got it when the kids were small, we suddenly had an influx of little friends coming over because my kids liked to come and show them how they could change the colors of the lights and do everything by voice. So suddenly we were the coolest home in town to visit. But gosh, if we had to replace all of those bulbs, we kitted out the whole house in Philips Hue. That would have been a very expensive proposition. So I can understand
well,
why people would be very annoyed about that.
the deal was that at time the bona fide Alexa smart bulbs were quite a bit more expensive than these Singlid ones, by a factor of 4 or something. So I think that's what attracted people to buy them. I guess you get what you pay for sometimes.
Yeah, it's always a risk. Well, thanks for sharing that because
Sure.
obviously there are some cautionary tales with the smart home, and that is one.
Great. Marcia, I see you have your hand raised. You can unmute.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi there.
Hi, Jonathan and Kennedy. So, two questions. Has there been any advocacy regarding the Amazon um, app that controls the Echoes or the Alexas? And the reason I'm asking is that, and maybe I'm setting up extraordinarily complicated things. But for example, I have Wi-Fi enabled smart ceiling fans. And number one, the instructions were not great. Number two, you had to use the Apple Home and then connect it in with the Alexa, and it was just very complicated. Once I got to the setting, everything was fine until I got to the Amazon Alexa part, Amazon Alexa device. I'm sorry, app part, and then that's when I ran into some difficulties. Although I find the Amazon Alexa app to be okay, um, it seems that the smart Wi-Fi enabled ceiling fan and the Amazon Alexa app did not want to communicate together. although they were advertised to that. So my first question is, has there been any advocacy, although I know that this is not about the app, um, but has there been any advocacy regarding the app and making it just a little more accessible?
Sure, yes, absolutely. So we do have what I believe is a good, cordial relationship with Amazon, and sometimes we will reach out to them when we hear about feedback, and other times they'll reach out to us and say, "Have you got anything for us that we should be aware of?" So it would be great if you're having a specific issue, and this applies to anybody on the webinar and people listening beyond. If you're having any specific issue, what helps us a great deal is to get as much step by step as possible what you're trying to do, the steps you're taking to do it, the results that you expect, but the results that you are getting instead. And if we can take a complete report like that, it's more likely that we might be able to get some traction. But the other thing I would say about this situation that you cite is, we've all probably experienced a situation where there's a third party app of some kind that we want to work with our screen reader. And it doesn't matter what the screen reader is, what platform it's on. You kind of get into this little bit of to and fro where the screen reader manufacturer tends to want to say, "Oh, it's a problem with the app. You need to go and talk to the app developer." And then you go to the app developer and they say the exact reverse. So when it is involving two devices talking to one another, I can imagine that sometimes we get into a little bit of an argument about where the problem lies. And that can be very frustrating when you just want it to work.
Correct. Correct. Yes. And I'm not saying that it was necessarily the Amazon Alexa app issue, because I actually was having a sighted individual without voiceover on using my iPhone to set it up. And if it's giving someone that is sighted who's using the app without voiceover trouble, then obviously it would probably give me trouble as well.
Right. So
So
it's a connectivity issue. Yeah.
yeah, and I would just say that the ceiling fans I have are Hunter brand, although a very good brand. Like again, they were very complicated to set up, and I'm hoping that, newer types will come out that are easier to maybe set up. My second question is, really quickly, is there a skill that will, on the Amazon Alexa, that will announce on the hour, like a talking clock might, or is there something that will announce or chime on the hour?
We should open this up and crowdsource the wisdom, but my initial thinking is you don't seem to be able to have skills that run in the background in that way. So I don't know of one, but I haven't looked. It'll be really interesting to know whether anybody can tell us
Okay.
that such a thing does exist.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, that's a feature we could suggest to Amazon if it's something that they have to add, because, it could just be a setting that you toggle on in the Amazon Alexa app. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Marcia. Any last questions or discussions? This has been great so far. Okay, I don't see anything. So for the next 20 minutes here, we are going to discuss lighting and environmental controls. So I'm going to be talking about lighting, and Jonathan already had a, a really interesting story about this, and setting up the Philips Hue bulbs at home, and then having his kids come over and change the scene. I had a similar experience with my sister. Was one of the early adopters of this, and I went to her house and was completely amazed with the things that she could do just with her voice, and changing the light or setting a scene, having it do party mode, and all the lights are going crazy. So I like to think of lighting and smart lights as kind of the gateway to smart homes. I don't know if they were one of the first smart home technologies, but to me they were the first ones that were introduced to me. So these are a good, relatively cheap way to get into smart home technologies. So, smart lights or lighting, the common theme between them is they are voice and app controlled for brightness and color adjustment. So you can have, however many colors you want. You have the option to select that and its brightness, etc., etc. You can also have automated lighting schedules and connect your lights to motion sensors. So when you walk into a room, the lights automatically turn on to 60% soft white or something like that. Or if you have a display case, it could light up blue lights when you walk in or something like that. So there are a few options you have here, and a few that I've outlined in this presentation. There are, a lot of different smart lights and hubs and bridges that you can purchase. These are some of the most popular ones, though. So the Philips Hue line of lights, um, uh, you can get a Philips Hue bridge, which again, thinking back to the beginning, the bridge is kind of the middleman between you and your Wi-Fi network that talks to the lights, quote unquote, is about $66. The Hue Bridge Pro, which unlocks higher capacity and features, is about $99. The Hue bulbs, HUE, that's how you spell Hue. The white and color bulbs are about $45 to $50 each. You can get multi-packs that can be cheaper. There are actually new Hue Essential bulbs and multi-packs that can be about $15 to $25 for each bulb. So a couple more options you have here. Nanoleaf Essentials. These are, thinking back to, this is under the Matter standard, and these are enabled using Thread. So these are bulbs that don't need to be connected to a bridge. They can connect straight to your phone. Again, they're called Nanoleaf Essentials. You can get a 3-pack of color bulbs for about $49.99, so about $17 each. And those are standalone, and you don't need a hub. Another really interesting company that I found was Lutron, and they have their Caseta line of smart lighting and smart controllers. You can get this for about $90. And what's cool about this Caseta line is it offers a line of remotes or dimmer switches on the wall that are tactile. So you have remotes that have tactile, up or down buttons, select buttons, whatever you want to set it to. They're kind of generic remotes. And then you can make the buttons do, whatever you want in terms of whatever technology you're interacting with. So I just wanted to mention those, and I'll get into those a little bit more detail about those in a second. But I just wanted to mention this because they do have tactile buttons and remotes, and I know that that is kind of a fleeting thing these days in technology. Everything is smart screens, and a lot of the time, touch screens aren't always accessible, and most of the time they aren't accessible. Another type of light or smart light is LIFX or LIFX, LIFX. I'm sure Jonathan knows how to pronounce it. These are hub-free Wi-Fi smart bulbs and light strips. You screw them in and connect over 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So over Wi-Fi, you don't need a separate bridge. Kind of like what I was talking about, the Nanoleaf Essentials. You don't need a separate bridge. And they many are very bright. For example, the A19 color bulb is 1100 lumens. These type of bulbs also work with Apple Home, Google Home, Alexa, and the SmartThings hub. So once paired, you can live in Apple/Google apps and use voice. And also these are part of the Matter standard, which is what we were talking about before. So they ship with Matter out of the box. Some non-bulb devices like the light strip or the neon string can be updated to Matter, but older bulbs won't get a Matter upgrade due to hardware limits. So, for example, those were just some examples. To get into kind of what the lighting does, like I said before, lighting is a gateway to smart homes. It should be reliable and simple to use. Um, I have 3 options or 4 options here for talking about life effects as well. So the Lutron Caseta switches, and they're called Pico remotes, PICO. They are reliable and they have tactile buttons. They're great for households that want physical control plus voice. Or you could go with the Philips Hue. So you would need to purchase the Hue bulbs and the Hue bridge. So again, the bridge allows the person to connect with the bulbs as kind of like the middleman between your Wi-Fi network and the bulbs themselves. These boast rich color schemes and fast local control. You can set different scenes, so you don't have to micromanage bulbs, which is really what you'd want to do for these type of bulbs. That's kind of where they're so cool. You don't have to go through and select, if you want a mix of different colors to set a certain mood or scene, then you can do that automatically, and you don't have to go through and set a blue one, a red one, and a white one to get the scene you're looking for example. Matter, or another option is Matter/thread bulbs or switches like Nanoleaf, TP-Link, Eve. These are all bulbs that can work alone with no bridge, and they're designed to work with Apple, Google, or Alexa devices. So, for example, you could give your home 3 scenes. It could be morning, evening, and nighttime. So in the morning, you might have very, depending on if you're a morning person or not, brighter lights or dimmer lights. You can set them to change, throughout the day. So, if it reaches 7 o'clock, maybe the intensity goes up, 10% or whatever. For the evening scene, you could have, certain colors come on when you get home at a certain time, or you could have it set to, some sort of voice command, like, um, whatever, S word, A word, don't want to say the names right now, set to morning or set to evening. And then you have a night setting. So, that could turn off all the lights, for example. So another piece of lighting that I wanted to talk about, wall switches. So you can, without having to actually go up to them and touch them, you usually want to keep the switch on, and then just have the on and off controlled through one of these apps or smart hubs. So you usually don't want to just keep it off because then it won't have power to turn on. So usually you just want to keep the power on, and then you can turn it on or off or change the scenes as you go through. And you don't have to go and touch the physical switch. So if you're having issues setting up these light bulbs or any of these smart devices, something that I kept reading when I was doing my research is 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi versus 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Many of these devices use the 2.4 gigahertz network. So if you're having issues connecting one of these devices in your initial setup with your Wi-Fi, you might be on 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi because that's what a lot of Wi-Fi is these days. You want to select a 2.4 gigahertz network and then connect it to whatever you're connected to. Just a little bit of troubleshooting that I wanted to mention. So, the breakdown of these 3 or 4 options. If you want quick and reliable with tactile buttons, you might look into the Lutron plus Pico um, pathway. That's the first one I mentioned. If you want scenes and a ton of different colors and lots of different modes on the lights, then maybe think about the Philips Hue plus the Philips Bridge. If you want the simplest start with little to no setup required, then look for a Matter/Thread enabled device. So all three work with voice. So pick, the path or technology that actually matches how you live. So if you think if you don't mind, opening your phone and selecting every time you want to turn something on or off and selecting the color manually, then maybe you just go with one of these Matter enabled thread devices that just connect to your phone with no other hub. If you want something a little bit more in depth and you can set scenes and have automation, a lot more automation, then maybe go with one of these other options that I laid out here.
My home button.
Oh, so I think that's all I wanted to talk about for lighting. Jonathan, did you want to talk about thermostats?
Sure. Thanks, Kennedy. And like they always say, let there be light. Tremendous. All right, so let's talk about smart home technology in another context. There would be some people who say that the smart technology is really cool, and there will be others who say that there are aspects of smart technology that's super hot. Either way, it might be how they've got their thermostat set. So, smart thermostats offer significant accessibility advantages through voice control and smartphone apps, but of course accessibility can vary dramatically by brand, and it can be challenging to get the accessibility set up. Some of them can just be completely inaccessible. I'm going to take a look at the ecobee system because it happens to be what we have access to in our apartment, so I have become familiar with it in recent months. The physical touchscreen interface, of course, remains completely inaccessible to blind users. It lacks any tactile feedback of any kind or buttons. There's no audio cues on the device itself. And there are some critical functions that can only be accessed through the physical thermostat. So that creates some accessibility barriers that the excellent smartphone app can't help with. I have had some painstaking but ultimately successful sessions with Aira, who have helped me work through the settings menu of the thermostats, just swipe by swipe. And it's taken a while where they've said, just move your finger fractionally up. No, that's too far. And we've finally got there. And that's been particularly important for initially connecting the app to the thermostat and then getting to the place in the settings screen where the QR code is on the display so that you can integrate the thermostats with Apple Home, which gives you a lot of convenience, as we'll see in a moment. ecobee's built-in Alexa support on newer models anyway, and we have one of those, is comprehensive, and it's compatible as well with Siri and Google Assistants once you get all that set up. So it is good from that point of view. I'll show you a bit about this. Let's go back to our old friend, Alexa. What's the bedroom temperature?
The bedroom temperature is 23.9 degrees.
Yeah, I'm in Celsius land here. I wouldn't have it that freezing in Fahrenheit. That'd be inhumane. So that's useful. You can have some control. You can change modes via the Alexa skill once that is set up. And of course, if you've got an Echo Dot 5th generation, you can do that anyway because it does have a temperature sensor in it. But this is probably going to give you more reliable data, and more importantly, it's about what the thermostat is set to. In iPhone land, I have the ecobee app open.
Button.
And if I go right to the top of the screen there, we get an inaccessible button, but its text label is next to it.
My home button. Pop button. Pop-up button. Office.
So I'm going to swipe through, and we have two ecobee thermostats in this apartment, the office where I am now, and there's also one in the master bedroom. And if I flick through, you'll hear how things are set right now.
Humidity 47%. Current mode off. Button. Pop-up button.
The reason why it's off is I'm doing you a favor. The ecobee thermostat is super noisy, at least the one that we have, and I don't want you to hear all that background noise. So it's a pretty nice day here in Baltimore. We're heading into fall. It's not that warm at all, so it's fine.
75 degrees.
Yeah, that's all right.
Reminders and alerts.
We've got a couple of those because it's time to change the filter in the thermostat.
1. Bedroom. Humidity.
Now we're onto the bedroom. So you can't navigate.
Heading north.
No, you can't. You can't navigate by heading with this. But now we're on to the next one, which is the bedroom thermostat. And that one is still on.
Humidity 50%. Cooling button. Pop 70. Cooling button. Pop-up button.
We've got a pop-up button and we can change modes there. So if I double tap the button.
Heat ecobee. Cool button. Selected. Heat/cool. Auto.
So
button.
it's telling me very clearly
Cool
that
button.
heat/cool auto is selected.
Selected. Heat/cool. Auto. Off. But
And we can switch it off.
dismiss context menu.
And
Button.
I think if I go
Off.
left,
Select cool. Heat button.
we can switch it to heat as well.
Heat.
Those
button.
are the options that we have. So we'll go down
Dismiss context menu.
and
Button.
dismiss that context menu. So it's really easy to change modes. You can also go into settings and set up some of the scheduling features. We do run it in a different way when we're out of the house and also at nighttime when we're sleeping.
Button 75 degree. Keep cooler than 74 degrees. Reminders and alerts. 2. Tab bar. Selected. Home tab. 1 of 3.
And at the bottom of the screen, we've got a very accessible tab bar. We're on the home tab at the moment.
Reports tab. 2 of 3. Discover tab. 3 of 3.
And because I went through that painstaking process of connecting it to Siri, where you have to get to the mode on the touchscreen thermostat where the barcode is being displayed, and then you can add the device to your Apple Home, we can do things like, hey Siri, turn on the office thermostat. And Siri made a confirmation noise, and if I just give it a second, yes, I can hear that, and it may be that Zoom's noise cancellation is filtering it out for you, but it's like a very quiet freight train running in the background now, and the thermostat is on, and I can do the same thing. We can just say, Siri, turn off the office thermostat. It didn't listen to me. Siri, turn off the office thermostat. And it made a little confirmation noise. It used to say okay, which I preferred, but now it just makes that little noise. So you can do a lot more. You can go into settings and set up all kinds of programs and modes and things, and it's relatively inaccessible. There are 1 or 2 unlabeled buttons, but there's nothing that I would say is a showstopper. The one thing I would comment on is a good strategy is that if you find a particular part of the app where you're getting a bit stuck, and this applies to any app, be it a smartphone app or otherwise, sometimes turning on the screen recognition feature long enough to get you out of that particular bind is a very good accessibility troubleshooting strategy. You might want to think about where you put that, because I have seen people putting the screen recognition mode on their rotor, and without realizing it, they've inadvertently rotated to the screen recognition feature and switched it on, and then they don't know why the app has suddenly started misbehaving and it seems inaccessible. There are times when it's handy, but there are also times when having that mode on can really degrade the user experience. So what I suggest you do is put it on your iPhone quick settings, which are just a little bit harder to get to, but still within easy reach, but they're not on the rotor. So I think that's the optimal place to put it, just so that you don't inadvertently get the app into a mode that degrades performance and you're wondering why it has suddenly got so bad. So that's a practical example of the temperature control that you can achieve in a smart home. I want to talk about some other offerings that we've gathered some data on. I haven't had any personal experience of this myself, but Google Nest thermostats receive a lot of praise from blind people for their accessibility. People seem to appreciate their accessible app, but also the tactile feedback through a click physical dial that provides audio confirmation when you're manually adjusting the temperature settings. So when we get to the next round of Q&A, if you have a Google Nest thermostat, I'd be really interested in your direct experience of that or any other product in this space, of course. The Nest app also gets consistently positive reviews from people who talk to us. We have people describing it as a completely accessible experience with VoiceOver, at least on iOS. And while there are some unlabeled controls in the advanced settings, apparently the core functionality is reliable and accessible, as you would hope and expect, since this is a Google product. There is excellent Google Assistant support for Nest. It is important to mention, just while I remember to talk about Google Assistant, that there are big changes going on in that Google ecosystem as Gemini starts to replace Google Assistants across all of Google's properties. So that will be interesting. In theory, it should provide a lot more intelligence, a lot more contextual awareness. It enables more natural language processing, apparently, with Google Nest, even with the current Google Assistants, than other platforms offer. Nest's self-learning capability is interesting as well, and it apparently reduces the need for these complex scheduling routines that I've had to set up with our ecobee thermostat, so that can be handy as well. It's just convenient. Some features like the leaf energy saving indicator apparently are still visual only, and setup will still require that initial sighted assistance. So, you know, it's not a pain-free experience, but like a lot of these things, once it's set up, it typically stays set up. I got to tell you, I was so demoralized because we had some feature problem, and the apartment maintenance people came over to try and troubleshoot this for us. And they decided, and reasonably, you know, as an IT guy, I would do this myself. They decided the first thing to do was just switch the whole thing off and back on again. So they reset the ecobee thermostat, which meant that when I got home, I had to go through the whole process of trying to get into the menu again to make it talk to the app and talk to Siri again. I was not a happy camper at the time, particularly since it didn't solve the bug that we were finding. Now let's talk about Honeywell. They do some smart thermostats as well. We're getting mixed reaction to these. We have heard that some of the models at least have some accessibility challenges, but we've also heard some people who've had some good luck with newer models, so it might be changing. And if you listen to the Access On that has now just gone out, that's the National Federation of the Blind's technology podcast, you'll hear a review of a Honeywell thermostat in this week's edition, which confirms that some of them are apparently doing quite well these days. There's another model called Emerson Sensi, and they receive praise for hardware accessibility because they've got physical buttons and they provide tactile controls. So that is the preference of many people who just like to have buttons that you can feel. But the scheduling features remain completely inaccessible in the app, and temperature target setting proves a bit problematic apparently for some. The model's excellent HomeKit integration is a bit of a saving grace though, and if you can get that working, if you can get it working with Apple Home, it does apparently allow comprehensive Siri voice control, and that to some degree compensates for the app limitations, but it doesn't excuse it. We obviously believe that every app should be accessible to everyone. You can still, it's getting harder, I believe, but you can still get some specialized talking thermostats like the VIP 3000, which whenever I hear it, I always think it sounds like something out of Harry Potter, you know, flying around on my VIP 3000. But it's a thermostat, and there's also Kelvin models which continue to receive high accessibility ratings from blind people as well. So it is a very exciting space to be in, just having control over your environment. So that is a brief look. ecobee is okay. It sounds, based on what we're hearing, that Google Nest, if you want a smart thermostat, might be the gold standard there. So as I say, I'd be interested in hearing people's feedback. So that's it for me on this section, Kennedy.
Great, thanks. All right. Now we have a 15-minute break scheduled. So we are going to come back at around 2:46. We're about 15 minutes from now. We are on the East Coast for those of you who aren't on the East Coast, in about 15 minutes from now. Okay, and please keep in mind if you do have questions or discussions, you can put them in chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll get to them. All right, we'll see you in 15 minutes. Thanks. Alrighty. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to keep moving on here. We are going to be talking about security systems and access control next, in regards to smart homes. So I have a few different options here that you can go with for your security systems. First, you want to figure out, how involved do you want your security system, and how enabled do you want it to be to talk to all the other, security aspects of your house. So if you want a do-it-yourself alarm kit, um, go with something like Ring or Simply Safe or Abode, ABODE. If you just want a smart lock, there's something called August, Yale, or Slage. Those are three, types of different smart locks. And then you also have the video doorbells like the Ring, Nest, Blink, or Eufy, EUFY. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And with some of these devices, you can mix and match. So you want to think about when you're thinking about what you're wanting to purchase or what you want. You might want to create a simple alarm plan. For example, front door contact, back door contact, motion sensor, and a keypad slash phone app. That could be a very simple alarm plan that you have. Then you'd want to name the zones in plain language. So once you have, these different sensors or doorbells, whatever is part of the security system, you want to name zones in plain language. So front door, back door, living room motion, for example. Then you're going to want to set an entry slash exit delay. So 30 seconds when you come in before the alarm goes off, and then 60 seconds, once you leave the house and no motion is detected, the alarm is armed. There you can have what we were talking about before, scenes when it comes to lighting. You can have scenes when it comes to security as well, or automations. So arm awake is an example. So when you arm the security system and you're away, then you want all the doors locked, and if you have any motion sensors in the house, you want those to be reading for motion. If you have another scene like arm night, so you're there but you want your security system armed, you might just want the perimeter motion sensors on, and you want the inside motion sensors off because you're going to be walking around in there. And you can also have some of these services allow you to have something called share access. So you can have household members, you can add them and give them each a pin, or a neighbor, somebody you trust, and you can have give access to these people. If you're not able to access, then you can give them access. Um, if for example, an emergency situation, and you want your neighbor to be able to get in and feed your dogs or cats, for example, then you can give them access remotely. Some plain words that are used in security: arming is turning the system on, disarming is turning it off. The perimeter is or doors or windows. Entry delay, that's what we talked about before, the grace period to get inside and turn it off. Access control is how people actually unlock or enter. So, through a keypad, an app, a key, or, voice control. We'll cover alarms, smart locks, and doorbells. I can explain some different options that you might want to look into before buying. quickly how to set it up, and what's most accessible. Of course, that's what we're always interested in here. So, when you like I was saying before, here are some options for um uh, security systems. And unfortunately, some of these can get kind of expensive and have monthly costs associated with them. That's just, you're paying for security and peace of mind. So just quick warning, it's not the cheapest, system in the world, but if you're paying for, like I said, security and peace of mind, that can be priceless. So um some common alarm systems that I want to go over. Ring alarm. So, like your Ring doorbell, Ring also has security system. So they start at around $245, and then monitoring is $19.99 a month, with video benefits bundled on higher tiers. So if you want to have video cameras or security cameras installed throughout your house, you can do that, but it'll be a higher cost, of course. Simply Safe. The range I found was $250 to $730, and the monthly cost comes in at around $21.99 a month, $21.99 a month. And something I found interesting about Simply Safe is you can get some cell backup. So if your Wi-Fi completely goes down and everything else goes down, you can pay for cell service to be installed in the Simply Safe system, so you're not out of luck if the whole system goes down. And another company I found through my research is Abode, ABODE. These starter kits start at around $230 to $280. Optional monitoring at $7.99 a month. Self monitor, or $199 per year to $239.99 a year for Pro. I haven't looked into the differences between the cheaper models and the more expensive models. I'm sure you unlock more features with the more expensive models. And Abode is interesting because it has strong Apple, Google, and Alexa support. Some smart locks, like I mentioned before. There's something called August Wi-Fi. This is around $229. It's often on sale, I found. These work with Apple, Google, and Alexa. And smart locks, as you can guess, they're Wi-Fi enabled, and you can control them with an app. And this allows you to unlock it remotely. You can set automation. You can set it so the key doesn't work if you want to completely lock it out, things like that. Another smart lock option is the Yale Assure 2, ASSURE 2. This goes from $179 to $309, depending on keypad, fingerprint, or just a home key. So you can have a lot of different ways to access these smart locks. So like I mentioned here, you could have a fingerprint scanner, you could have a physical keypad, you could just have an app. Well, no, most of the time all of these come with a physical, or you can have a physical key. Some don't, but most do. And when you're looking to purchase this, you just want to think about what the biggest use cases that you're going to use for these smart locks. So if you don't think you're going to need to remotely, well, no, you can do it remotely, but if you don't think you need, fingerprint scanning, which is, a more expensive option, then maybe you don't go with the fingerprint scanner. And then we have the Schlage Encode/Encode Plus. Schlage is SCHLAGE, and then Encode is ENCODE. These are also smart locks, and it adds Apple Home, and so you can tap with your iPhone or Apple Watch and get in. So this is cool because it directly communicates with your iPhone or an Apple Watch, maybe through NFC technology. I haven't really looked into how they actually communicate, and you just tap the lock with your phone and it unlocks. Okay, video doorbells. I know somebody was asking about video doorbells. So Ring, the range goes from $49.99, $50 to $229.99. And this depends on if you want wire doorbells or ones that act on battery or the pro version. I'll get into, what the pro version offers here in a second. You could also have a Google Nest doorbell, battery or wired, $179.99. You can also have Blink doorbells, Blink. This is the second generation. This is a budget option for around $59.99, which is standalone. And you can also have something called the Sync module, which adds range and battery life. Something else I mentioned earlier, the Eufy Family Lock S3 Max. It's a lock plus doorbell all in one. Eufy is EUFY. And then Familock is FAMILOCK S3 Max. This is for around $339.99. It sometimes goes on sale. And like I said, this is a video doorbell and a lock all in one. So some different options here, and I do want to get into the AI component of it. So some of these video doorbells offer AI enabled object detection. So it can tell you if a person is at the door or just a package, if a package has arrived. If it's an animal in front of the door, it can tell that as well. And a lot of these, AI doorbells, you have to get, the most expensive or the pro version. So for example, the Simply Safe Video Doorbell Pro, it distinguishes between people, animals, and vehicles. Also, some other ones that have this AI detection feature. The Google Nest doorbell. It can look for people, vehicles, packages. And you can also get something called Familiar Faces if you subscribe to Nest Aware. This is just another subscription service, meaning more money, but you can actually set it to recognize certain people, and then it announces that person is here. ADT, which I'll talk about in just a second, also has this AI video person detection or object detection. And then also the Blink video doorbell also has basic person detection. So just a couple more examples of how everything, can talk to each other. If you're looking for, an all-in-one package that has, smart locks and video monitoring and these AI video Ring doorbells, or these AI doorbells, Simply Safe has a really good all-in-one package for all of these different security systems and security options. And then Ring Alarm also has a very comprehensive line of security options. So you might have mentioned, I didn't mention ADT. ADT is one that I presented on before, and one that I've mentioned in the past in similar presentations. I found through my research that the ADT pieces of technology in the ADT ecosystem, they don't always connect with other devices like Apple HomePod or Google Home. And a lot of these other ones that I did mention can connect, to your iPhone or to your Android device without having to go through something else. So they can talk directly to your iPhone or your Google phone. And sometimes ADT is kind of its own ecosystem and it stays in its lane. Also, there's a lot more published information on the accessibility of the other ones I mentioned. and I found that they were, pretty good in accessibility. And personally, I don't have any of the security systems I mentioned. If people do have, accessibility experiences, please share that. But I couldn't find either way if ADT, it's called ADT plus, if it works well with voiceover or talkback. Not saying it doesn't, but I just couldn't find the resources that do say that it is, accessible. Also, if you want something with professional monitoring, so kind of those old ADT commercials where it's like a command center and there's people actually watching, the video feed. That's professional monitoring, and some of these options do offer that. That's going to be a lot more expensive as a subscription service, but you can get professional monitoring. Okay. I think that is all I wanted to mention with security systems. Again, if you have, any questions or any experiences with these security systems, please put them in chat or raise your hand. Alrighty. I haven't looked in a bit. Steven, are you out there and are you ready to talk about kitchen and appliance management?
Yes to both.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to quickly introduce Stephen Palachek from the Maryland Department of Disabilities here today to help us talk about home appliances and kitchen gadgets. Stephen?
Thank you, Kennedy. Hello, everyone. If you've been here to some of these before, you might have seen me a few months ago, but pleasure as always to work with the NFB. So I will be covering kitchen appliances and then later on some entertainment areas. In general, a lot of these features across the board are built-in use or management with a system like Alexa or Google Assistant. So a lot of the times we'll be talking about that instead, but some of them do have their own proprietary apps. So that's something to keep in mind. So starting with smart refrigerators, Samsung has the Family Hub set. And the Family Hub there's about 4 or 5, or there's actually more than that, several refrigerators with it built in of different styles, French doors, uh, top and bottom coverage, what have you. And most of them will have Bixby, which is Samsung's version of their assistant, built in, or they have Alexa capabilities. Um, they also have Wi-Fi, and it works with SmartThings, which is an app for controlling these things. And some of them have features such as View Inside, which will tell you, will kind of give you an idea of what's in there. AI Vision Inside, which is the more, I guess, accessible version because it will try and break down and read labels to you and list them out rather than just giving you a screenshot. And then Tap View. So giving you an idea of what are the options or what do you have in there and what can you make with it. So finding recipes and connecting to that kind of deal and help you plan your meals. So Samsung is one set up for that. Thermador is another company that kind of has the same thing. Theirs is again working with Amazon Alexa in pretty much the same capacity. It does have Google Home as well, though, so has both major platforms connecting to the app on your phone, working with that using Google or Apple voice commands to control them. They also have it available for ovens and other appliances in your kitchen, depending on, as long as they are all on kind of the same system, and making sure that in those in that management Alexa or Google Home or whatever, that you're naming them properly and using the correct voice commands to tell it to, check the oven's temperature versus check the inside temperature where it doesn't know which device to assign that to. So make it sure to set all of that correctly. Another option I came up across, which is more of a kind of, I guess DIY setup, is SmarterCam, which is a camera and phone app that you can work with or put a camera inside the refrigerator and have it set up to essentially kind of turn a refrigerator into a smart refrigerator, where it'll look at products in there, list them out, and give you an idea what to do with them, integrate with Amazon Fresh to reorder stuff, that kind of thing. I did look into its accessibility though a little bit, and there are some major concerns with it, mostly because the app itself, it's very visual and it's not terribly well made. So it is, I do want to caution that of don't just run out and look into this, but it is something to be aware of and look into options like it, where is there something that you can get to work with your refrigerator and your existing phone rather than go out and buy a whole new fridge, which could be, 1,000 to 2,000 plus dollars. um, in terms of some smaller appliances and such, Hamilton Beach has a set of coffee makers that are smart that work with Alexa. Um, there is the Smart 12 cup coffee maker. That is one I think we actually have at the MD Tap, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Uh, Whirlpool has a number of products as well in this capacity. The nice thing about Whirlpool also is that they have an ADA compliant category on their website when you're searching through their stuff. Obviously, we all know that compliant doesn't always mean accessible, but at least gives us an option to start from rather than trying to make guesses about the accessibility of a product. Um, there's also the HeStan, an induction cooking top and pan set. That is a separate kind of standalone induction top and a set of pans that work with it, and it has a controllable Bluetooth enabled app. And that app helps control it, gives you reports, and it does work with all of the native accessibility features of it. Um, so that is an option that we actually have at Demonstratable here. I also was looking at it. Keurig has some machines that are smart. The K Supreme, a smart coffee maker. And they also have their own smart technology called Brew ID. Um, so you can have a Keurig machine that has smart functions enabled that works with, in this case, their particular app um, in order to control it. I haven't looked into the accessibility of that app in particular, but it is something to be aware of if you prefer the Keurig machine to a standard coffee maker. Moving further on, there is also another way to control a number of devices either in your kitchen or honestly across your whole house is what are called smart plugs. These are just a standard outlet or a plug that goes into the standard outlet that connects with Alexa, Google Home, any of these other management systems, and enables you to essentially kind of have an on-off switch for anything in your house. So, plug in lights, lamps, fans, uh, other, devices, charging outlets, what have you. You can plug these in and then have either use the app on your phone to control it, or in some cases use voice control with using it. There are a few of them. Amazon smells their own version, the Amazon Smart Plug. There is also the G Home Smart Plug. Uh, that is Wi-Fi enabled as well, and that works with both Alexa and Google Home. Amazon obviously works with Alexa. There's also the SwitchBot bot, which is same idea. It is a plug-in little box on its own, but it also works with Google Assistant and Siri and other such options. That is a Wi-Fi one, does require the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi network. It does work with Apple Home as well. If you have Apple Home installed instead, you can use it there. And then finally, there's the Kasa, K-A-S-A smart Wi-Fi plug. Again, works kind of the same way, connects to all these other devices. That's kind of the common theme here in most of these smart technologies. I do know Thermador and Whirlpool do have their own proprietary app as well that it works with. I can't speak to those in terms of accessibility, but most of them come with the ability to work with the known accessible tools like Alexa and such. Outside of that, there's also the Instant Pot. This is one actually Kennedy and Jonathan told me about. The Instant Pot is a kind of mini multi-cooker. So works kind of like a pressure cooker, but can also can be a lot faster too. And it is a smart system as well, um, that you can set up to work with particular recipes, have it set to work with Alexa or uh, Google Assistant, and control it with voice controls as well there. Instant Pot also puts out a couple other devices as well. I believe some of those are smart enabled. So that is a pretty pretty universal option for just standard recipes that you just want to throw in the cooker and let it go for a few hours. There you go. And then finally, the Brava oven. Brava is a company that has set up a kind of desktop, or not, well, tabletop rather, small oven. These devices roughly can range from, I think, about either 18 inches across to just over 2 feet. And they have been doing a lot of work with the California Lighthouse for the Blind, because they're based in California, to make their app and the oven itself accessible. So they are a very good option for finding a pretty safe option for cooking, because it's a light bulb heating system. So rather than using electric coils and such, it has a safer option that has a bit more control about it. You can set it to save recipes and cook a particular recipe, or you can set it to cook different recipes that it comes with, and built-in timers with that, and will also work with native accessibility features on your phone, either iOS or Android. So that's a very good option that for a company that's also made sure to work with individuals with disabilities. So I kind of want to promote that option there. And then finally, the safety features for a lot of these come into a lot of this remote control capability. I think I saw in the chat someone asking about or mentioning how they're trying to get their, yep, here it is, trying to use Alexa for turning on off oven and telling the current temperature. A lot of the times, from my understanding after some Google searching, is you have to set out routines, and so like essentially a trigger. So you need to find the device in your app and have it set to automatically report at certain points, such as completed preheating and such. So that would be something to look into in that regard. But a lot of the times, automatic shut off features are built into that app control. So you'll have to check settings and features for that purpose. Moving on to entertainment and media access. As I close the 16 tabs I had open talking about all of these options here. We'll start with the smart TVs. So first off would be Apple TV, which has built-in voiceover and works again with their particular app on the iPhone. Believe that they have options in other places too, but Apple TVs do have those features built in, and is kind of the starting point for this kind of question. It's the Samsung Neo series also have some of these options built in with voice assistants and working with Android controls, or in some cases, the Bixby, because Bixby is again their system, so they built it into all of their products. But Samsung and has built in a lot of capacity to work with Android features, so that is an option there. LG has the OLEDs and QNED models that have audio guidance built in. So in cases of where you don't have an app or something else to control it with, it does have a feature for uh, getting menu readings read aloud and such as well. And then the Sony Bravia with Google TV uses TalkBack and Google Assistant. Those are built into it, so you can use voice controls and the TalkBack Google Screen Reader in order to control the TV directly. Streaming devices is another popular area in this capacity as well. Um, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Fire TV are all three major options here that have built-in accessibility features. Again, kind of working off of the same capacity as TVs. Apple has all the built-in iOS features, voiceover, zoom, text display settings, audio descriptions, all that's built in. So if you're using Apple TV, Apple TV Plus, those features should already be available to you. And in the case of Fire TV, they have what's called Voice View. So again, same kind of idea, built-in screen reader that helps you navigate menu options and such. You might need some assistance to turn it on because you need to go into the settings and accessibility features to turn it on. Doesn't seem like they've put in a shortcut to get to it quick first. They also have the Explore Your Remote feature that speaks, allow the function of the buttons when you press them on the thing. And then they do have either their own closed caption system or Alexa captions, and they do have audio descriptions with, if you're using Prime, they have a number of settings available where you can go into the video playback. It has to be a compatible title, but you can then go in there and select audio options, and it should be listed there to turn it on. And then finally, they do have a screen magnifier built in, again, under the accessibility features. And you can go to Amazon's help article to get all the commands for that. Before it get too far, I see someone in chat has posted the TCL Google TV also has TalkBack, and it's a great option if you want to save money versus the very nice but expensive Sony Bravia. You do have a Sony Bravia. I keep want to say Sonia. Sorry, Sony Bravia. Unfortunately, it does not have TalkBack. Interesting, because the article I was looking at said it did. So that's good to know. So everyone keep that in mind. Of the Bravia might not have it, but the TCL with Google TV will have it. So I think it seems to be the main thing is, does the TV have Google TV added to it? If it does, there's a chance it has TalkBack. If it doesn't, likely it will not. Oh, okay. Forgot to mention your Sony Sony brother's 14 years old. No worries, not a problem. Good to hear about that though. So, but it is something to pay attention to, is that they usually will have models that don't have Google TV or Apple TV installed, and those models likely don't have the features needed because they're not necessarily smart. So just keep in mind what you're purchasing and what are the options enabled on it. And then Roku. Roku has a built-in screen reader as well. I am not as familiar with it. Don't think we have that product in our library here. So I just only know that it exists and that it is installed on all Roku models. So if you're purchasing Roku, you should have it enabled and should just be able to turn it on from settings. They also have voice search available on the app. So if you get the free app for iOS or Android, you can tap the voice button that should be there and just speak aloud what the title you're looking for is and get some search results and then select it. Voice search is available on certain remote controls though. To use that, you have to be running the Roku OS 9.4 or higher. Oh, we're getting a review for the Roku TV here. So their voice or screen reader feature is okay. It does work. I believe you can change the speed. Other than that, I prefer the other options mentioned. Okay. good to know. So, I mean, that's to be expected. A lot of these built-in text-to-speech readers that are native aren't always as robust as full-on screen readers like VoiceOver or TalkBack. Um, so it is something to be aware of, you know, if you want full functionality, compatibility with these existing systems is usually a better option.
Yeah,
Uh,
Steven, I was going to mention we do have a Roku here at the NFB, and it is accessible in general.
Okay.
So just want to mention that. And then I don't know if you were going to mention like sticks versus the actual TVs. So, the
No, go
Amazon,
ahead.
Fire TV itself is, a TV that has all the accessibility features. And you can also get a Fire TV stick that's just a USB stick that has a lot of the features of the smart TV for a lot lower of a cost that you can just plug in to a regular TV if it has a USB um, input.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Kennedy, for that information. Um, Finally, talking a little bit about cable alternatives because streaming services are all the rage right now. Depending on what you're looking for, easiest thing to do, honestly, is go for the help article. But uh, Netflix, um, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, all have settings for it. A lot of the times, though, they're making their stuff compatible with already existing things. So, like Netflix, their article mentions how you can use many type of assistive listening devices. If you need audio descriptions or need to control brightness or font size for captions or just the screen in general, or if you need navigation with the screen reader, Netflix points out that you can control it with many of the common uses such as VoiceOver and TalkBack. So if you're using the app on your phone, it should work with all your features on there. If you're on a TV with that installed, it should work with those features on there, but Netflix itself doesn't have its own built-in system. I can't pull up because I'm right now in the office, so my office is blocking the Hulu articles and Disney Plus articles. I should have checked that before coming on today. But those did also mention kind of the same idea of their apps. They've been working on making their apps work with existing software. So if you have a compatible device that has, a computer that has a screen reader and you're using it there and you're using the app, or if you're using the app on your phone or device, should work the same way and work with all of those features, not just the talkback or voiceover, but should work with Zoom, magnification, Zoom text, any of those technologies. And it should be able to accept those settings from as well. If you're change settings in your computer and Windows, in the accessibility settings, you can change your font size, your magnification level. Should accept all of those settings into the app as well. Finally, just some things outside of that for audio description systems and voice navigation. Couple options just for controlling other things outside of Alexa or Google Nest. For general, I don't know if Kennedy, John, you guys want to talk about these things later on, but the Auracam or Ray-Ban Meta glasses have these features built into them with voice commands now, and some audio description services. You can ask Orcam or Ray-Ban to describe what's in front of you, and it should give you a short description. You can expand on it, have it focus in on a particular thing or area. And so there are plenty of options there. Then in terms of labeling for objects and such, there's the PenFriend or ScriptTalk. ScriptTalk is intended for medical, prescriptions and what have you. But PenFriend is another option that can also create labels. These are kind of more low-cost options for just specific objects, but we did want to mention them and such. And finally, I did want to do, because they gave me time, so now I'm going to take it. I did want to mention here in Maryland, we have the Assistive Technology Program, MTTAP, that I am part of. And this is kind of a library for assistive technology where you can come out, try devices, and take them out on loan for a period up to a month, try them out, see if they work for you, and then we can help direct you to where you can purchase your own. So you can kind of try out some of these options or see how they work, especially for cases like the smart plugs or the apps. We can help you work through how to set those up and how they would behave and such. You can kind of give it an option. We don't have something like a refrigerator. Sorry, those are too expensive for us. But we also don't really have space for that. But we can help you, or we can help explain how they work and how some of the functions are available too. If you are not in Maryland, don't fret. Other states have their own. So if you go to the uh, Assistive Technology Center or program across the board, I will grab that link and put it in chat for everyone. You can find your state's program and contact them. They should have roughly the same features as us. Some people have different things in their library or focus on different needs, but all of them will have people on hand who can help point you in the right direction for some of these things that we're talking about today, or even be able to try them out before you purchase them. All right, Kennedy, Carl, or sorry, Jonathan.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Stephen. We
Thank you.
appreciate you coming out. Yeah. We have some time now for questions and discussion. So I'll be calling on people that have their hands raised and then reading some chat as well. So I see Elizabeth Conlin. You have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute.
Just
if you'd
before we
like.
do that, Kennedy, I'd like to make some comments
Sure.
on a couple of things. If I could take us back to the doorbell and security discussion, let's not forget to meld technologies together. So sometimes you will be able to go through a timeline of a security camera or doorbell footage, and you'll be able to find where motion was detected. And you might be interested in learning about what that motion was. You can find those video clips. They're usually saved, particularly if you subscribe to the service that saves them. And you could send those to an app like PickyBot that describes videos. You can also use Google Gemini or any number of other apps now that will describe videos to you. So if you're curious about what the motion was, you can often get quite entertaining descriptions of what went on if it was some sort of animal frolicking around by your front door or whatever. And obviously, if it's something a little bit more sinister, it's useful to know that as well. So remember to integrate all this different technology that we have. Another useful tip is that if you employ people to come to your house, like cleaners on a regular basis, you can often assign specific codes and security system to those contractors. The advantage of that is that you can revoke them if they no longer work for you, but you can also find out when they disarmed the system and when they left. So you can have some peace of mind about the fact that when you pay the bill, you really are paying for work that you think you're paying for in terms of the amount of hours that they were there. On some of the things that Stephen was talking about, just a couple of comments. We did have some experience with the Brava over the weekend. Now, Kennedy and I set this up a few weeks ago, and we're going to do a thorough review of the Brava a little bit later. But at the moment, it is not possible to set that up without sighted assistance. The Brava folks are aware of that, and they hope to be able to address it in future models. But over the weekend, I came into the Jernigan Institute on a Sunday to try the Brava oven. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it, right? And I brought along some steak and a few other things, and we cooked this in the oven. So what you do is you scroll through the Brava app and you choose what it is you want to cook. So in my case, it was steak with garlic, herb, butter, and it tells you step by step what to do. It uploads the recipe to the oven, and it uses a range of technologies. It could be sensors, it could be cameras to get the perfect cook using infrared cooking. And I got to say, outside a restaurant setting, it was the best steak I've ever eaten. I'm not at all reluctant about chucking a steak on the grill. And that would take a lot quicker, actually, than the Brava took, but it wouldn't have done nearly as good a job of cooking the food as it did. So that's quite exciting technology. And from Brava to Bravia, talking about televisions and the Sony product, I did want to comment on a really dodgy experience I had with this a few years ago. So it's slightly outmoded knowledge now, possibly. I hope this is the case, but you might just want to check on this because it's a really big deal for blind people buying these smart TVs. I specifically upgraded to a particular model of Sony Bravia because it supported a standard called automatic return channel on the HDMI port. And that was necessary for the sound bar that I was buying. What I found when I got the TV home and I tried to set it up was that there was a conflict, which meant you couldn't have the screen reader and the automatic return channel enabled at the same time, which made it completely useless for my purposes. I was very fortunate that the store I bought it from knew me well, was willing to take the TV back and replace it with a Samsung model that worked just fine. But these are the little fish hooks that we have to be mindful of sometimes. The Brava TVs at least used to, there you go, the Bravia TVs at least used to have two screen readers. They had a dedicated Sony one, which tended to work well with the program guides that you sometimes find in free-to-air digital options. And then you had TalkBack, which worked well in other situations. So it was a little bit fiddly because sometimes you found yourself changing screen readers depending on the task that you wanted to do. So those are just some comments on recent discussions.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. All right. Yeah, Elizabeth Conlon, did you want to go ahead and unmute? Okay, if we're waiting for, oh, there we go. Oh, never mind. If we're waiting for Elizabeth, Tanya, if you want to go ahead.
Okay,
and
hey
unmute.
guys.
Hey, Elizabeth,
I'm so
go
sorry
ahead.
about that. There we go.
No problem.
Yes. First of all, I do want to apologize for coming in late.
Try again.
Excuse me. I don't know why I'm getting all raspy today.
It's that time
I
of
did
year.
have Ring when I was at a training center over in Fishersville.
Mhm.
And yes, the mobile application is pretty accessible. And I did have my Amazon Echo cancel. I just activated her. Set up to where it will notify me, hey, someone is at motion is detected. In this case, I named it because I was at a dorm room. So I was like, motion is detected at the dorm room, or someone rang your doorbell. So I was like, okay. I mean, that was a really accessible thing. And also I was working from my dorm room at the time, and folks across from me were like really causing a lot of ruckus. And I'm on a call. I'm like, hey guys, can you please lower the voices? I'm working. But I really I do have the Amazon Alexa and also another smart home application or a security system application that I use at home. It's not as accessible as Ring. It's called Vivint.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. I haven't heard of that.
All right. Well, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Tanya, did you want to go ahead and unmute?
It's actually not Tanya, it's Heather. But my question is, so I was at the Colorado Center for the NFB a little while ago, and I only got to stay there for a couple weeks. But my question is, so there, they actually had a talking thermostat, and I'm wondering if that's the thermostat that you're talking about.
I don't know for certain which one they have, but if I were to guess, it might be something like the VIP 3000 or something like that. So it was one of those ones where when you walked up to it, you could hear it talk without any kind of app. Is that correct?
Yes, it had like buttons on it. It had like certain buttons on it for like the fan and like how you would do it. Like it had certain buttons like arrows that you would push up for like doing the temperature, and then it ran on a battery.
If it wasn't that model, then it would be something like it. And so that some blind people still prefer the convenience of that rather than messing around with an app and pairing things, that just walk up to it and hear it talk and adjust the temperature with buttons, for sure.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
My other question is, do you all know about the Cosori air fryer that works with Alexa?
Yes. I'm fairly certain we have one in our lab. So yes, we do know about that.
It is one we talked about. We talked about last year at the device showcase that we do annually in December.
Mhm.
I just didn't bring it back up. So, but thank you for pointing it out. So yes, that is a well-known option.
Cool.
Mhm. Yeah, there are a ton of, smart enabled kitchen appliances. So if you're looking for one of these, Wi-Fi enabled, you can look for smart or Wi-Fi enabled or internet connected. These are all phrases that kind of mean the same thing. It's where you'll run into issues are if the app is accessible or not, really. Okay. Let's go ahead and go through chat. Um, I use Echo Smart light bulbs with Smart Hub. It can sync with Alexa for voice. I'm having trouble connecting the bulbs for my cafe slash work location to my Smart Hub. They are defaulting to the physical individual remote. Any ideas on how to fix? And Mark replied to this. I just want to throw out there for the security section that our center of okay, that's something different. Did you have an idea for this question, Jonathan?
Not specifically, no, other than this is the kind of thing where hopefully the tech support companies, reps for the companies concerned, can help because it can be fiddly. I had a situation where at one point I had our Alexa devices being able to change channels on the TV, and it was super amazing when it worked. And you could just say, switch to I don't know, what's a non-controversial one to switch to? Cartoon Network, all right. Switch to Cartoon Network. And it would, and it was really good. And then one day it just stopped working, and it took an inordinate amount of troubleshooting just to get it back and talking to multiple people and things like that. So this is the thing. The dream is a wonderful thing, but sometimes it can turn into a nightmare, and you've got a number of things trying to coexist, and sometimes something breaks, and it can be very difficult to track down where the breakage is.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer, Ashley. Just try reaching out to the companies themselves and troubleshooting that way. There's 1,000 different ways to connect these things and 100 different ways for them to go wrong. So it would be better if you try to contact the company. Mark had a quick comment. I just want to throw out there for the security section that our center in Nevada regularly provides a loaner Echo device to new to vision loss people so that they can try out the device as an emergency backup landline phone when their iPhone becomes non-communicating, disappears, or gets lost in the couch with a dead battery. This system is often just a good security blanket for people who don't want to transfer their flip phone over to their new fancy iPhone or Android and may not have a landline or neighbor that they can go to in a pinch.
Good to know.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Marcia had a comment. We use Guardian as our security system, and although the app is not 100% accessible, it is pretty good so that we can open our garage and look at the camera on the front porch. Great, thanks. R. Hilliard said TCL Google TV also has TalkBack, and it's a great option if you want to save money versus the very nice but expensive Sony Bravia. I do have a Sony Bravia. Unfortunately, it does not have TalkBack, but they mentioned that it's an old version. Here's a question. What about smart multifunction printer scanners?
What about them? Well, they're obviously they save space, and I don't know whether we have any models that we have tested of late, but they can be very useful, particularly if you're not the kind of person that likes to scan documents with a smartphone, which I think is getting more common now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really update printers and scanners in our lab, so we don't have a ton of experience with that. Ryan, oh, did you have something else, Jonathan?
No, let's go ahead with the questions, and then I'd like to come back and just comment on cable cutting services a little bit.
Sure. Ryan, did you want to go ahead and unmute?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Just wondering, there's a lot of talk about, I got to spell it Alexa because there's one behind me, and Google Homes. Is there a functionality or anything with the Apple Home or the Apple, whatever it's called, their smart speaker? Is it kind of the same thing, just different brand, or is there like a lack of apps, a lack of smart features, or just no experience kind of thing? Just curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in general, they can do a lot of the same things. It comes down to what devices you have more of. So if you're in the Apple ecosystem, like if you have an iPhone or an Apple Watch, an Apple, TV, then you might want to go with the Apple HomePod. A lot of these devices are on the Matter standard, so they can talk to one another. But just to be 100% sure that everything works, perfectly correctly, like Jonathan said, in a perfect world, everything on the Matter standard would be easy and fast and easy to connect and everything. But we don't live in a perfect world, so it really comes down to kind of what you already have. The HomePod is a really nice big speaker. But you can get nice big speakers on from other companies. So I think it really comes down to the ecosystem that you're already a part of. Is that it's just easiest to jump in with a device that's already on that ecosystem.
I think the other thing too is that Apple has had a few setbacks when it comes to rolling out its Apple Intelligence. And we're going to see a very different kind of Siri by, I would say, the end of the first quarter of 2026, because the pressure's on Apple to deliver after quite a delay. But at the moment, as Google transitions from what we have known as Google Assistant to a new model based on Gemini, which is its large language model, you are seeing Google become a lot more capable in terms of quite nuanced commands. So Google's always been pretty good about stacking things together, but they're taking it to a new level as they start powering their devices with Gemini. There is a risk in that as well. We know that large language models hallucinate. Sometimes they get things wrong. So they'll probably be proceeding with a little bit of caution to make sure that the good reputation Google Assistant has acquired over the years isn't damaged by some little glitches as they bed in Gemini for this use case. So it'll be interesting to see. But in theory, Gemini should have a bit of an edge right now.
And if you're interested in the iOS and Apple world, Ryan, and for everybody, we do have our What's New in iOS 26 boutique coming up at the end of the month on September 30th from 2 to 3:30 Eastern. If you're interested in hearing what's new in iOS 26, which there's a lot of cool new updates, please go to nfb.org/CENA to sign up, just how you signed up for this event.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Oh, thank you, Stephen. Here's a link for finding your state's assistive technology program. Please take advantage of those. They're very cool programs run by great people. So yeah, please take advantage of those.
So if I could just briefly comment then on cord cutting services, because this is an interesting area. Last time I checked the participant list for who's here, my wife was not. So I will say that my wife is a sweet, good-natured person, but she completely changed her personality when for the first time I saw her interacting with her cable company. This was when we first got together. And it was like this major transformation of personality. So I was very nervous about, we've got fiber where we are in Baltimore right now, gigabit fiber. So we didn't actually have to have cable and risk me seeing that personality transition again. So I was looking for services that were accessible, that gave us full TV service that we could do on our smartphones, on our Apple TV, on our Samsung TV, which was internet connected, and that just cut the cable company out of the loop. And there are several like this. There's DirecTV, there's Sling TV. The one we chose after I did a lot of research was YouTube TV. And people get a little confused about this because YouTube TV, it sort of implies that it's related to the YouTube we all know about, but this is actually a cable alternative, and it offers a lot of channels. You can pay a premium and get sports and other content that doesn't come with the default. But what I liked about this is that it is accessible on all the platforms I've tried it on. So I've tried it on the Samsung TV, the Apple TV, the smartphone app on iOS is fantastic. So I imagine the Android one is too. And it even works pretty well on the web. And what's nice about it is that if you have the Google Family option, people can have their own login, and that gives you your own personalized DVR where you can go through the program guide, which is fully accessible, choose to record shows, and those shows stay on your DVR, which lives in the cloud for up to a year. So you've got plenty of time to watch things, and you can choose to record the whole series or just record an individual show. But once you choose to record the series, you just set it and forget it, and the programs are available to you on demand. And the big one of importance can enable audio description on all the channels that carry it. It doesn't have a global setting for audio description, so you can't just go into a setting somewhere and say, whenever there's audio description, switch it on. You have to do it manually for each channel that offers audio description. But once you've enabled it for the channel that you enable it on, it stays enabled. You don't have to keep doing that every time. So overall, YouTube TV is a very good option, and I know that there are other blind people who use it too and also think highly of it. Most cost-effective option if you need cable internet, and maybe you've got your phone bundled with your cable provider as well, so cell phone service or whatever, then you might find that the bundle of TV, cable, and internet is cheaper than it would cost you to get YouTube TV and those services individually. But it might be worth doing the numbers and seeing, and of course you can take your YouTube TV with you anywhere. When we were in New Orleans for the National Convention, YouTube TV still worked, and we were able to watch local Baltimore channels as well. So it's a pretty good service. It's worth mentioning.
Agreed. All right. I see other people have questions and your hand raised. We do have some time at the end of the day for these questions. I just want to make sure we get through all our content. So Jonathan, did you want to talk about health and safety monitoring with Anil?
Sure, I'm happy to lead us off. My interest in health is basically that I am a data geek. Whether it's in my professional life or my personal life, I always think if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And there are several smart options I want to talk about briefly before I hand over to Anil. Obviously, smartwatches are a great option for measuring an increasing range of health data. The Apple Watch is the one that I use. It is totally accessible. If you're in the Apple ecosystem, it works well with your iPhone, and it's constantly measuring data like heart rate monitoring. Blood oxygen was not available on some new models in the United States, but for now they have resolved that issue. So blood oxygen measuring is back. As of WatchOS 26, which came out on Monday, if you have a relatively new watch, it's also measuring hypertension. And of course, the one that many people are holding out for is glucose levels. And I understand that Apple are working on that, and that they're just as anxious to deliver it as many people are to receive it. You can manage workouts, and all of this integrates with your health app on your iPhone if you're in that ecosystem. The nice thing about the health app is that there are all sorts of accessories that talk to it. So not just the Apple Watch. For example, I have a Renpho Health smart scale. It's a sad story, actually. When I was doing Living Blindfully, I really talked up and demonstrated a company called Cardio, who had that's Cardio with a Q, and they had a deep commitment to accessibility. It was really commendable. And they had a page on their site that talked about their accessible offerings. Their scale was absolutely tremendous, And then they went out of business. And this is the thing, suddenly the app stopped working, and we wondered why. We started doing some investigation and found that they had fallen on financial hard times and the company was closing. Somebody brought the app back briefly, but then eventually the bill didn't get paid for their cloud service and all the data was lost. But the nice thing is that even if you've got something that's slightly inaccessible, if it can talk to the Apple Health app, which is fully accessible, as long as you can get the data set up to transfer to Apple Health, you've got one repository to look at. So in the morning I can check how well I've slept and the different phases of sleep. I have an app called Water Minder, which every time I drink a glass of water, I log that, and I log other things like coffee and kombucha and different things that I drink. So I log that. I have that data in there. Workout data. There are some treadmills and other appliances that work with the Apple Health app, although that is less common than I would like. The smart scales do a lot more than just measure your weight. So you can get talking scales and you step on the scale. One of my favorite smart scales was one that I had when I was a young adult, and you'd step on this thing and it was quite loud too, and it would say your weight is whatever pounds, and it would say you have gained 5 pounds, have a nice day. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Now you get a lot more data from the scales. It will measure body fat percentage. It will measure your hydration level, which is really great because if you know how to interpret the numbers, you can get a real feel for whether you're drinking enough water or not. Water is so critical to keeping healthy, keeping your system in good shape. So the Remfo Health scale that I have will give you access to that. The app is okay, but the Health app from Apple is fantastic. But I was able to set up the Remfo Health scale independently and get it talking to the Health app. It measures a whole lot of other things as well, like I think bone mass and muscle mass and different things like that, just by stepping on the scale and waiting there for a few seconds, and it collects that data. There are so many gadgets that do things like this, and the one that I will mention, because it gives you an example of how niche these things can be, I try to adhere to a keto diet. It works for me personally, and I feel really optimal when I'm adhering to it. I have been a little bit off the wagon at times since I came to the United States, because we've all got to try the Cheesecake Factory and TGI Fridays and goodness knows what else at least once, right? So I'm working through them all. But when I stick to a keto diet, I feel great. And one way that, there are various ways where you can measure whether you're in ketosis. And what ketosis is where your body is essentially burning fat for fuel rather than carbs. Your body's a dual fuel system, and if you don't feed it with enough carbs, it will switch to burning fat for fuel, which is a good thing because it helps you lose weight, and it actually makes you feel fantastic. But in the past, the measuring whether you're in ketosis or not has been difficult for a blind person because some of them, some of the measurement systems require strips that require a urine sample, and the color isn't easily accessible. You can't see the color changing. And then somebody told me about a little device called Keyto, spelled K-E-Y-T-O. And all you do is you run this Keto app. Unfortunately, it doesn't talk to Apple Health, but you run the app and you tap the button that says log a keto level, and it takes about 2 minutes to warm up. It's a kind of a tiny thing like a flashlight with a single button on it. And after you push the log a keto level button on the app, you then push the button on the hardware, and it takes a couple of minutes to warm up, and the app shows you that it's warming up. And then it just tells you to blow into the device, like you've been stopped on the roadside or something. And you blow into this app until you've got no breath to give, and it goes away for a few seconds, and it comes back with a score. It's actually quite similar to the way that Apple in watchOS 26 has implemented a sleep score, which is a really simple number that just aggregates the data and tells you how well you've slept. So this gives you a keto reading from 1 to, I think, 8. If you're at keto level 1, you're not burning fat for fuel at all. You've been eating lots of carbs, and then it goes up. So normally, if I'm behaving myself food-wise, I can get a keto level of about 5 or 6 pretty consistently. And it just gives me reassurance. I can generally tell by the way I'm feeling whether I'm in ketosis or not. But having that data has been great because if I have one weakness on the keto diet, it's potatoes. I really find it hard to give up a jacket potato or something like that. And I've learned that if I'm really careful, I can do that once in a while and not knock myself out of ketosis. And having that data tells me that equivocally, that or unequivocally rather, that I'm in ketosis. So there are all sorts of gadgets depending on the lifestyle that you want to live, what is healthy for you. There are lots of smart options. So that's a brief overview for me about some of the technology that I'm using to monitor my health. And I will now hand over to Anil, who's going to look at this from a diabetes perspective.
Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I have the Renpro app as well. I wasn't able to set it up, but I do like the fact that it pairs with that Apple Health, and it's really great. You said you had the scale that tells you that you gained 5 pounds. The sounds that you can enable on the Renpro app is if you gain weight over a certain amount, it'll just give you a boing, 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 which, it's motivating. I'm pleased to talk about this. I a few years ago was diagnosed with diabetes, and up until then, I didn't really monitor my health in anything other than going to my annual physicals. But once my doctor gave me the diagnosis, I went out and I tried to find accessible devices. So yeah, the scale with all of those particular features, great. Once it's set up and it imports that information into the Apple Health app, it is awesome. And then I also have a Bluetooth blood pressure monitor. I have one of those that's just a cuff, so it doesn't have that long cord that goes to the box. It's all just one piece. I put it on my arm, and that also feeds into the Apple Health app. And it was very helpful to have all of that information. Like you said, the data does make a difference because when I'm not monitoring it, I make the assumption that everything's fine. When I'm monitoring it, I can look at it and see, well, you need to change some behavior here to get the weight down or keep your blood pressure low. But I'm, I guess, lucky enough to receive the diabetes type 2 diagnosis before I became insulin dependent. And when I first started, I was using the accessible glucose monitor where you still had to prick your finger and put the blood on the strip and still put it into the machine. So it will talk and tell you your glucose levels. But that's fine if you have to do it once a day, but my doctor wanted me to monitor it throughout the day. And it's not a matter of the machine being able to talk. It's just that whole problem of it's the end of the day. I'm trying to remember the device that you use to prick yourself. That's great. You get used to it after a while, but if you don't get just enough blood on that strip in just the right way, then you could be, pricking your finger quite a few times. So luckily, a friend of mine told me about the Freestyle Libre glucose sensor, and Dexcom, another company, makes something very similar. I don't know if it can. It's pretty high on my arm, so I can't take this shirt off to show you. But it's a really like a little quarter-sized device. For those of you who can't see, I'm touching the back of my left arm. It's about a quarter-sized device that I apply, and it's very accessible. It's easy to do non-visually, and it lasts now for 15 days. So what happens is this constantly monitors my glucose levels, and it puts the information on my iPhone into the Freestyle Libre app. That's been a game changer because again, not monitoring it, you just fool yourself into thinking, yeah, I can have this custard, I can have this cake. What I found out through the constant monitoring is that some of the food items that I thought would not impact my sugar, my glucose levels, really did, and some that I thought didn't at all. So it helped me make better choices on what to eat and what not to eat. But again, I'm luckily not insulin dependent, but being a member of the National Federation of the Blind Diabetes Action Network, I run into other blind individuals who are insulin dependent, and there's some creative ways that people are doing insulin delivery. So we come from the clicker device that would tell you the appropriate amount of insulin and you'd insert yourself. But the thing that's going on now is insulin pumps, which I think is moving toward what people are referring to as a bionic pancreas. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting very close. At our national convention, we passed a resolution commending Tandem Diabetes Care for the development of the Mobi insulin pump, which is an accessible insulin pump. And the insulin pumps are great because they have insulin on board, and they have interaction through the constant, glucose monitoring, like my Freestyle Libre, to show where your sugar levels are. And it administers insulin in a way as though your body would, your natural body, and to deal with maintaining good sugar levels. This has been tremendous for us as an organization. We've been advocating and working with a lot of the insulin pump manufacturers. There was a time, just like most of the technology you've seen, when it was possible for a blind person to use it independently because it had buttons or whatever. But as the technology evolves to be more touchscreen and all of that, the commitment to accessibility, well, really there wasn't a commitment to accessibility. That was just the resilience of blind people learning how to use these devices in a way that allowed us to use them independently. But as the technology changed without the buttons, then we have to find new ways of doing it. So there was a window there, right, where all of the devices had touchscreens, which were inaccessible. But now that everybody's moving toward making sure they have an app component to it, that opens up the window for a lot of opportunities for us to be on the cutting edge of this technology. We're also working with a gentleman who's building, a insulin pump delivery system that actually gets put into a person's arm that lasts for an extended period of time, and it works through an app. And it was very interesting talking with him, and he was saying, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this accessible. We'd use an iPhone app. I said, well, that's probably going to make it easier for us to make it accessible. He says, well, I don't know, because we use these pictures and they're icons, and we can make them accessible. So a lot of it is really about educating them that what they're doing already is moving into a space where it can be made accessible, but they still have to pay attention to how they develop the code for the apps to make sure that it's accessible. So I think this is really um, a hotbed of opportunity for us to receive some pretty significant medical care. Because again, blindness, it's not the factor that defines the quality of life that we live, but we're just like everybody else, subject to other health concerns. And if we're not able to efficiently and independently monitor our health conditions, then we can't take the proper steps to remain healthy. And I'm just glad that we're being committed to this particular effort. So that's what I have to offer. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this discussion. Listening to some of this information has been really enlightening.
Great. Thanks, Anil.
Mhm.
Jonathan, did you want to talk about some smart sound? And I know something you're really passionate about is audio. So if you want to take a few minutes, the floor is yours. You're muted, not on Zoom.
I turned my mic down to be
There you
absolutely
go.
safe. We're good now?
Yep.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, because this is my happy place, and I'm happy to talk about multi-room audio. I know this is something that interests many of us on this call. So let's do some defining first. Multi-room audio systems allow you to play music throughout your home using multiple connected speakers. And that means that you can enjoy synchronized sound in every room, or different audio in each space that you have. And you control everything centrally, often through a smartphone app. You can use voice commands as well. You can start a playlist in the living room, say, and then have it continue in the kitchen and the bedroom, and turn on an audio book in one room while someone else streams music in another. And it's all controlled by this central system. The result you get is really this immersive audio experience right across your house. When it comes to multi-room audio, Sonos is arguably the pioneer and the most recognized name. And Sonos offers a series of high-quality smart speakers that are renowned for staying perfectly in sync throughout your home when they're grouped. And certainly in the early days of Sonos, that was quite an art form. Technology's come a long way, and others have caught up, but Sonos cracked it first. So if you play a song on multiple Sonos speakers, they will all stay time aligned. There's no echo or lag or anything like that. Sonos provides quite a range of speaker types to fit different rooms and different needs. They've got small bookshelf speakers, and you might want to nab those while they last if you want, because the partnership that's created those bookshelf speakers is coming to an end, and they have large sound bars and even portable battery units, and I go into some of these models in a little bit. So it doesn't matter what the form factor is, all those different devices work together over Wi-Fi. Sonos's focus is on easy user experience, and that has become a little bit arguable of late, and believe me, I'll come back to that. Setup is typically very straightforward. It's, kind of plug and play for the most part, and the system is designed so that even if you're not particularly technical, you can get it up and running. You can add speakers as you need to. There are some exceptions to this for a blind person. There are a few Sonos products, including the Kinect and some of their Sonos subs, where you have to enter a PIN which is located on the device. You are going to need sighted assistance of some kind to find what that PIN is. Usually something like Aira is sufficient, although it can be located in some pretty inconvenient places, particularly with the subs, which are mighty big and heavy, and sometimes it can be difficult to angle the camera just right so that someone on Aira or Be My Eyes can see what that number is. The good thing is, though, I suppose, that the PIN never changes, so once you have it, save it in a safe place, just in case you need to set it up again, and you'll be able to refer to it. Sonos also integrates with many popular music services, which you can control from Sonos's own app. So as long as the app is accessible, it is nice to have a common interface across all those many services, because we certainly went through a lovely long period where Sonos was in some cases a lot more accessible than the individual apps for those services. Let's talk about some specific models. The Sonos One and now the newer Era 100 are compact smart speakers. They're great for bedrooms or kitchens. Sadly, we do have a couple in bathrooms as well, because we're major Sonos geeks around here. And then you get to larger speakers like the 5 and the new spatial audio capable Era 300, and they're more powerful. They're a bit bigger. They have stereo sound for big rooms, and the Era 300 also does Dolby Atmos, which we'll talk about a bit later. Sony also makes portable speakers. Whenever I travel, I always take my Sonos Roam with me. It sounds great for its size. It easily fills a hotel room. And there's also the Sonos Move, which is larger. It has a handle. So if you have a deck in your house or an outdoor living area in your house, the Move is really great because you can just take it somewhere and put it outside. It has a rechargeable battery, as does the Move. Now, for home theatre, Sonos offers several sound bars. The mid-sized Beam is good for, say, small apartments, smaller spaces, and then you've got the Sonos Arc Ultra, which is a mighty long thing, and they can be paired with a subwoofer for rich bass, and even used as part of a multi-room system when the TV's off. If you pair the soundbar with other speakers and the subwoofer, you've got a full surround sound system. So for example, here we have the Arc Ultra. When we're sitting on the couch, the Arc Ultra is in front of us, some distance away. We have the subwoofer in the corner putting out all the bass, and then behind us we have two Era 300s, which gives you the rear surround sound effect. So a surround sound system like this is not only great for movies and TV shows, but Apple Music and some other services are now streaming an increasing amount of music in Dolby Atmos. It really feels like you're immersed in the band, and if something is recorded well and you're listening to a piece of classical music, it really is quite remarkable. I would recommend, surprise, surprise, checking out some of the new Atmos mixes of some of the Beatles albums. I particularly recommend Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which came out very nice in Atmos. It did, came out very nice. And of course the Abbey Road album as well. It's a glorious thing. Now there are also components like the Sonos Amp and that's used to power traditional passive speakers and make them Sonos capable. They kind of integrate with your Sonos system that way. And there's also the Sonos Port, which integrates an existing stereo system into the Sonos network. I will tell you a slightly interesting use case for the Sonos Port, because we do have quite a few people in our community who are blind and also have a related hearing impairment, perhaps because of the condition that causes their blindness, or maybe it's an age-related thing. I use a Sonos Connect to plug in a Phonak TV adapter to my Sonos system. And what that means is that I can play anything that's coming through the Sonos system directly to my hearing aids. And that's fantastic. It's great for watching TV and hearing the dialogue more clearly, but it's also kind of fun in the morning if I'm wandering around and want to hear the local radio that we have on in the morning. Then I can just switch that in as well, and the audio is piped directly to my hearing aids. It's very, very cool. Now, all these Sonos devices communicate over Wi-Fi, and the newer models even support Bluetooth and line-in for additional connectivity. That can also have some interesting blindness use cases. For example, if you've got a Victor Reader Stream or a Sense player or a device like that, or even one of the NLS players with a headphone jack, you could plug any of those into the line-in jack of your relevant Sonos speaker, and you can broadcast whatever that player is playing all over your living space. So as you move around the house, maybe you're cleaning or doing something like that, you can pipe your Bard book or whatever you're listening to anywhere through the Sonos system just by plugging it into the line-in of one of them. Another interesting blindness use case is that if you have a Sonos soundbar connected to your TV, you can pipe the sound of the TV to any other room in the house that has a Sonos speaker, like the master bedroom. And since a blind person doesn't need to see the screen, it is a great way to get TV sound anywhere in the house. You can group any combination of Sonos products or use them independently. Every new speaker you add instantly joins the whole home network without you having to go to any particular trouble. It just happens, and it's controlled from the Sonos app or by voice. Sonos speakers are tuned by audio experts. In fact, I don't know if he's still there, but Giles Martin, the son of the Beatles producer Sir George Martin, and the guy who has mixed all these Beatles albums in Dolby Atmos, he was working for Sonos. So that's a pretty high recommendation. And people generally consider them great for their size. Sonos offers a feature called TruePlay that may have come to Android now, I think. For the longest time, it was only on iOS, and that can automatically adjust the speaker's sound based on the acoustics of the room that you're putting it in. It sends these very weird tones. I haven't heard something quite as obnoxious since the emergency alert tone, actually, but it does work, and you can hear the sound of the speakers changing to match the acoustics of the room. For a given form factor, Sonos generally delivers really pleasing sound. So there might be a bit of debate about that, like there is with anything audio, but generally people think that Sonos does a pretty good job of it. And it's certainly a step up from your basic smart speakers. Most current Sonos speakers have built-in microphones, and they can directly run Amazon Alexa. Some older speakers also offer Google Assistant, but Sonos and Google had a bit of a falling out. Sonos sued Google for patent infringement, so newer speakers don't offer Google Assistant. As well as Alexa and Google, Sonos has its own Sonos voice control feature, and you say, "Hey Sonos," to make that go. And that's a custom voice assistant, and it's focused on quick, private control of your system. Sonos Voice processes all requests locally on the speaker, so nothing is recorded, nothing sent to the cloud, which is obviously a big privacy win. With Hey Sonos, you can do things like adjust the volume, you can pause and play, you can skip tracks, and you can even do unique multi-room trickery. For example, only Sonos's assistant lets you group and ungroup rooms with your voice. So you could say, for example, hey Sonos, group the living room and kitchen to instantly sync those rooms, or you can say, hey Sonos, ungroup all speakers. You can also move music with your voice from one room to another. You could say something like, hey Sonos, move the music to the bedroom, and off it will go. Another benefit of Sonos's voice control is that it coexists with Alexa on the same device. So you could, for example, use Hey Sonos for music and grouping commands, and still use Alexa for news briefings or one of the many skills, like NFB Newsline, and they coexist. There's even integration with Apple's Siri in an indirect kind of way. If you have an iPhone and you use Apple Music, you can use Siri to send audio to Sonos speakers via AirPlay 2. For example, you could say to Siri, play this album in the living room, and that'll work with the Sonos if it's set up in Apple Home, which is pretty easy to do. Sonos may be a dominant player, but it is certainly not the only player for high-quality multi-room audio. Blue Sound is often mentioned as the audiophile's alternative to Sonos. It supports high-resolution audio up to 24-bit and 192 kilohertz, and it even supports MQA streams for those using Tidal's highest quality tier. It offers a range of products. It has the Pulse wireless speakers and also the Node streamers. And like Sonos, they sync music across rooms. In terms of sound quality, Blue Sound gear is generally praised for its clarity and fidelity. You might choose Blue Sound if having studio quality sound in each room is your top priority. Blue Sound devices are typically a bit more expensive than Sonos, and the Blue OS app can feel a little bit complex apparently for new users, but from an accessibility point of view, Blue OS has been ahead of many others. I have seen blind people talking about this and saying that Blue OS's iOS app is one of the most accessible options that they've tried, so that's encouraging. I haven't experienced it personally myself. Good old long-standing brands like Denon Marantz are in this space as well. They have a platform which is designed to compete with Sonos and similar products. They have AV receivers, and they also have standalone wireless speakers all working together. It's called HEOS, H-E-O-S, and people say it's a great option if you're a home theater enthusiast. You could have a Denon AV receiver, and it can play the TV's surround sound in one room while also streaming music to other HEOS speakers in the house. It supports high-resolution audio, and it has integration with services similar to Sonos. A big advantage is if you already own Denon or Marantz gear, adding the HEOS speakers extends your system. Reviewers have said that the app experience isn't as polished as other players. Many consider the app somewhat clunky. From an accessibility point of view, it hasn't been highlighted for excellence. Anecdotal reports from blind users say that while you can accomplish basic tasks with VoiceOver, certain screens like choosing tune-in stations, for example, may not be fully navigable, which can be frustrating. So proceed with caution. And if you want to try this, because it's a reputable brand, you might want to see if you can try it at home and have the right of return if you need to. The HEOS ecosystem does work with voice assistants to some extent. There is an Alexa skill, for example, so that might be a workaround. And of course, when we're talking about audio, we should talk about Bose. They have long been a big name in audio, and they have their own multi-room offerings. Bose's older SoundTouch series and the newest smart home speakers like the Bose Home Speaker 300 and 500, they can be grouped for multi-room audio. Bose focuses on rich room-filling sound. There's a certain sound of Bose that you can pretty much walk into a room and tell when someone has Bose gear, if you know what you're listening for. And many Bose speakers come with Alexa or Google Assistant built in, similar to Sonos. In the past, Bose's controller software, which was called the Bose Music app, had some accessibility problems. But the good news that I've heard from others is that apparently Bose has improved this a lot over time. And as of recent updates, blind users report that the Bose Music app is now fully accessible. That's great news. So all buttons are labeled and the interface can be navigated with VoiceOver without much trouble. So well done to them for delivering on that. Now, we should come back to Apple's HomePod. We've talked a bit about this during this session. And HomePod Mini, of course, they do deserve mention as an alternative path to multi-room audio. And while it's not a sprawling ecosystem of different speaker models and options like Sonos is, Apple's speakers leverage AirPlay 2 technology for multi-room, and that means any AirPlay 2 supported speakers, including HomePods and even Sonos speakers, can be grouped together pretty easily. On the slightly less high-end side, but still relevant, you have got lots of Google and Amazon speakers. And I do think, despite some of the limitations pertaining to the really high-end functions being limited to Amazon Music, the Echo Studio is a very nice device. So that's something that you might want to consider. It would be remiss of me not to mention a real risk of smart homes. And we've talked about this a little bit in the context of lights that suddenly stopped working in various other scenarios, but this is a pretty dramatic one that Sonos showed us last year. In May 2024, Sonos released a completely redesigned app that eliminated fundamental accessibility features literally overnight. And it affected thousands of blind users who'd invested heavily in their multi-room ecosystem. And the reason why they'd invested in it was because it was so accessible, and then it wasn't. Luckily for us, the app was a debacle in every possible respect, not just accessibility-wise, and the chief executive of the company lost his job as a result. My Sonos stock went down too. The regression was so severe that Explore by Touch functionality completely failed, VoiceOver Focus jumped randomly around the screen, and essential controls became unlabeled. Users needed 3 or 4 swipes between each speaker control, something that hasn't been completely resolved, actually, even when you go into the system view today. Lists randomly jumped around and you got to the top of the screen when you didn't want to get there. And this change happened after years of exemplary accessibility from Sonos. So, well, we were all surprised and deeply concerned. So much so that the National Federation of the Blind, that is always on the lookout for these sorts of regressions, issued an official press release condemning the inaccessibility of Sonos and highlighting how accessibility isn't just a feature, it is fundamental access to technology users have already purchased. What made this particularly devastating was the comparison to Sonos's previous excellent accessibility. The old S2 app featured proper tab-based navigation, so you had a tab bar at the bottom of the app. It had efficient focus management. It made some use of the actions rotor. I mean, it was just a fundamentally better app. This new app just has a single screen. It's very busy, and it still, in my view, creates suboptimal navigation experiences. There's really not much of a heading structure to speak of, and there are essential functions buried in the interface. We don't have the actions rotor many or any places anymore. So while Sonos has made significant efforts to address these issues, and they have added blind users to their beta program, and they've been talking to people like me, really, it's just not the same. They release updates, and at one point they were trying to admit defeat, and they played at one point with the idea of bringing the S2 app back to coexist with this new one for people who wanted it, and they just found that so much had changed that they couldn't do that anymore. But that was an acknowledgement of how badly this had gone wrong. So this also highlights that accessibility and efficiency, as I said in my speech to National Convention this year, are actually different things. For the most part, I think the Sonos app is now more accessible than it was, but it is not anywhere near as efficient to use as it once was. So you can obviously imagine that sinking feeling that blind people had when they tried to use an app and found that they couldn't. One way to minimize the risk of this sort of thing happening is to adopt protocols that are supported by multiple manufacturers, that are standards, if you will. And coming back to Apple, their AirPlay 2 ecosystem is the most accessible multi-room audio solution available. The native iOS Home app provides seamless voiceover support for speaker grouping. You can control the volume of things from there. You can manage rooms, and you can control things from the control center as well. And of course, you've got Siri as well. The accessibility advantage here extends across Apple's entire ecosystem: HomePod, HomePod Mini, Apple TV, hundreds of third-party AirPlay 2 compatible speakers. The key advantage lies in Apple's ecosystem consistently. So unlike third-party apps that may introduce accessibility regressions whenever they update, Apple's commitment to accessibility extends uniformly across all these native apps. Users report that AirPlay 2 synchronization works pretty reliably, actually, and I have found this myself. Even if you've got different types of speakers, but they all support the AirPlay protocol, it works pretty well across rooms. But there are some trade-offs of going this route, and probably let's have a look at some of those. Obviously, it only works in the Apple ecosystem. So iOS, macOS, various other Apple devices, it's much more tricky to get that working with Android or Windows. Additionally, while Apple devices seamlessly integrate, some third-party AirPlay speaker manufacturers' apps could still present accessibility challenges when you're setting them up. So once you get past the setup process, then you're good because you can use Apple's technology, but you've got to set it up in the first place. And the big one, AirPlay doesn't send multi-channel audio. So if you have music in a spatial audio format and you've invested in equipment capable of playing it, then AirPlay's only going to give you stereo, certainly across different manufacturers' devices. Amazon's Echo multi-room system excels through its voice-first design, which people do like. You can just talk to this thing, but of course, you may find that the speaker fidelity, other than the Echo Studio, isn't enough for you if it's high-end stuff you want. Now, talking about home theater, a fundamental accessibility barrier affects most of the streaming industry. Most streaming services provide audio description only in stereo or mono formats, while offering surround sound to other subscribers paying the identical premium rates. To give you an example of this, coming back to the Beatles, it was very exciting when the Beatles Get Back documentary was released a few years ago. That was beautifully mixed in Dolby Atmos, and we had the equipment to play it. But what we found was we had the choice. We could listen to it in stereo with audio description and not feel like we were in the room immersed with the Beatles, or we could listen to it without audio description and get the surround sound, but we couldn't have both. An exception is Apple, whose Apple TV Plus services provide blind users with the most immersive sound that their equipment can play, even when audio description is on. So well done to Apple for getting that right. And the National Federation of the Blind addressed this directly. This year at National Convention, we passed Resolution 2505, and that demands that all streaming platforms include high-quality immersive audio, so Dolby Atmos and DTS:X and spatial audio, when audio description is enabled. The resolution specifically calls out Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Video, of course, and Peacock, and it makes the point that there is actually no technical barrier preventing the inclusion of audio description in Dolby Atmos or comparable formats. It is a decision that should be fixed. So that's a overview of multi-room audio. I still kind of feel like Sonos is a safe, reliable bet, and you can be sure that we will keep working on Sonos to try and bring back some of the efficiency that we have lost. So I will hand it back to you, and I think we're going to go into a nice little Q&A mode now.
Great, yeah. And I just wanted to mention, we did talk about, accessibility issues when you're setting up your device. I just wanted to go through and list some of the companies that do have some sort of accessibility or disability answer desk. Let me pull that up now. So Microsoft has their disability answer desk. Apple has their accessibility support. Google has their disability support team. Amazon has accessibility customer support. And Samsung has accessibility support. So, if anything comes up when you're setting up these devices, please, reach out to one of these disability answer desks or, general answer desks, and they will be able to help you. All right, yeah, we do have a few questions. I've seen that Frederick, your hand has been raised. If you want to go ahead and unmute Frederick, you can.
Hello.
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 Yeah. Hi. Thanks. I've heard so much that I seem to have lost track of what I really wanted to ask first. But
No problem.
yeah. First of all, Jonathan mentioned something about I think Echo Watch. Is this a special watch, or is it an app that you can download to like an Apple Watch? Because I have an Apple Watch, and I would very much like to know to get information about my health situation. So
I was mentioning the capability of the Apple Watch in general. Apple Watch has lots of monitoring built in, and if you go to the apps on your Apple Watch, you'll see things like heart rate and fitness and the sleep app, and that's where you get the data that the sensors have collected. So under the Apple Watch, there are a bunch of sensors on your wrist, and they're measuring all sorts of things, and the apps on the Apple Watch will present that to you. Also, on your iPhone, if you open the Health app, you can also see the data that Apple Watch has collected in the Health app as well.
Okay, and my next question is, I just got a pair of Meta glasses, and I think they work with Siri, but can I use them to get that information as well? Because that's Siri interrupting me. Yeah, I wonder if I can get that information through the Meta glasses using oh, come on.
So the Meta glasses belong to a different ecosystem because they've been released by Meta. So for them to work, you do have to pair them with your iPhone when you set them up. And to get the most out of it, it's actually quite a lengthy process because they all want access to your contacts. They want access to other Meta apps that you have on your phone, like WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram. And they do get some of their power, like your Wi-Fi or mobile data will come from the iPhone so that the Meta glasses can work their magic. Once it's all paired, you wouldn't use Siri. You would actually use a command like "Hey Meta" to ask the glasses questions. Usually they will take pictures using their own camera. There is now the Oakley Meta glasses, which has a much better camera and much longer battery life on them, but it's a different ecosystem entirely. Where they do kind of intercept is that if you take photos with the Meta glasses, and it's obviously convenient to do that because You're just wearing them. I think one of the issues that blind people have is lack of hands, not enough hands. We've got a white cane or a guide dog harness in one hand, and maybe we're using our other hand to navigate, to open doors, that sort of thing. So having the glasses on our wrist is great, on our heads is great for taking photos. And then the photos will end up on your iPhone in the Meta app, and you can add them to your camera roll and do things there. But they are so they're kind of related, but they're different ecosystems.
Okay, but then if you take any picture of something, is there a way you can have that stored in any say like on the cloud or something like
Yes,
that?
absolutely. So when you take the picture, it will end up on your iPhone, and you can have a look at that picture. You can save it to your Photos app from there if you want to keep the picture. And from there, of course, you could use any app like Be My Eyes or Access AI or Seeing AI or any of those to describe that photo, or you can send it along by email or text to people. There is some integration on the glasses itself. So once you've taken a picture, you can say, hey, Meta, send this to Jonathan on WhatsApp or post it to Facebook, and it will do that automatically.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sure. Thanks, Friedrich. Judy had a comment in chat. For television, I use an app called Channels. It is available for iOS, Apple TV, Android, and Amazon Fire TV. It connects to a physical antenna and brings in all the local live channels. You also need a home run device that is a one-time purchase. There is no service involved. The app is 100% accessible and really works well.
I've heard of this. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, interesting.
Great. Thanks, Judy. Bob, do you have any experience with the Zumo device provided by Spectrum XUMO? This seems like an interface much like the Roku devices, but gives one access to Spectrum's streaming service. YouTube is great, but has become increasingly expensive. I have never heard of that myself.
I don't have any experience of it. No, perhaps we can, again, crowdsource this one and find out if anybody else has any comment on that device. It is really good to see some of these cable providers coming to the table and offering accessible set-top box options. So that's encouraging.
Yeah. And before we go any further, I just wanted to mention I did launch a post-seminar poll. If you could take a few seconds and answer those few questions, we give you a couple spaces to suggest topics for future boutiques or seminars. So please take advantage of that. Okay. Marcia, I am an access technology instructor, and I would like to be able to demonstrate the Meta glasses. Are you aware of a Bluetooth or wireless lavalier microphone that would work with the glasses so that everybody in the room can hear? We're laughing because we're trying to think of ways to do this too, Marcia.
As Kennedy will tell you, I'm going on at Meta about this all the time. And I mean, I don't think I'm breaking any confidences here because Meta knows I'm going on about it all the time. They came to National Convention and they had a lot of people super interested in the glasses in the exhibit hall and everything. And I said to them, because I've raised it before, you see, if you would support connection of a Bluetooth device, you could have had a big speaker there and demonstrate the Meta glasses. It is very frustrating, and it has much more serious ramifications too, because it is locking out people with hearing aids who use Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids who would like the output of the glasses to go to Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids, and they can't do that either. We hope Meta will add this. In the meantime, yeah, I guess some sort of little lavalier microphone might do the job, but I don't have a specific recommendation. For lavalier mics, I use a Sony broadcast model, and that'd be way overkill for what you want. But there are some pretty cheap lavalier mics out there on Amazon. It might be worth a shot. Just put it against the speaker.
Yeah, Judy mentioned binaural microphones work well to record the Meta glasses.
Okay.
Okay. Debbie, I see your hand is raised. You can unmute.
Good afternoon. Great seminar, guys. Jonathan, you
Thanks.
mentioned about a scale that is it RenPro or RimPro? Could you spell it?
REMPHO.
Okay. All right. And my next question is, it's not even related to that one. I'm looking to demonstrate the Brilliant Braille display at a seminar. And the whole point, though, would be to have other people see the dots. Do you know of any way I could do that works reasonably well? Visually, I mean, see the dots, because I don't know of one, and I've racked my brain on it.
Other than the obvious of trying to get focus of a camera close enough, I don't. Because it's a physical thing, right? So
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's no way you could transmit like you do through Duxbury where you could see, what somebody's braille on a braille screen. Is there like
I think
Sim
some
Braille?
screen readers. It's been a while since I looked, but I think Jaws may have a mode where there's like a braille viewer.
Yes, there is. See,
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I've never used it. And I
Yeah.
should have thought of that.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you
you go.
very much. So
That's
it's
all right.
RENPHO?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
you can pick them up on Amazon like you can pick up everything, and they're good scales. They did quite a lot of research, and I'm quite pleased with that. So some people are
Excellent.
using oh gosh, the brand is really popular, and it's just gone out of my head now. It's been a long day, but there are some pretty popular brands, and I've owned some of them before, and I found that some of these scales that are based in the cloud sometimes just lose their cloud connection, and I spent
Yeah.
a lot more time kind of trying to troubleshoot them than just stepping on the scale and getting it done.
Right then. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Debbie. Any other final thoughts or questions? I think we're all caught up in chat, and I don't see anybody's hand raised. Quick reminder to please enter this post-seminar poll. We'd really appreciate it. Marcia, I see your hand. You can unmute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So there have been a lot of products mentioned, and is there any way for us to, number one, maybe get the transcript or to get a list of just all of the products that were mentioned? Because I mean, like, I couldn't get them all, and I don't know how to spell them all, and so any help in that would be great.
Yes. So I will release the transcript when we send you the recording. But yeah, we're gonna send you the recording so you can go back through and listen. And then yes, the transcript as well. We'll have those.
And we will eventually get to putting this on Access On, and all of the Access On episodes also have transcripts, and you can download those too.
Yeah, thank you. I was the one that asked the question about the Meta glasses. And if I find one that works, I will let you guys know. I have been hesitant to just purchase something off of Amazon, not knowing if it would work or not. But I know that there are several, like Facebook groups for the Meta glasses, and obviously no one in there has any idea either, which is really too bad. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah. I really hope they come through with some sort of Bluetooth option, but we'll have to see.
Yep. Great. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions or hands raised. So thank you to everybody that came today, and thank you to all our presenters, especially Jonathan, Anil, and Stephen. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Have a good day.
Take care.
National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.